This is a $100,000 two-headed snake that literally has a different personality in each head. And I'll be showing you why this is the most expensive snake on Earth, along with a $25,000 largest snake in the world. And guys, it's the two-headed snake. There's only a handful of two-headed snakes in existence, and this zoo doesn't only just have one or two. They have 3 two-headed snakes. So I waited here for her to bring out one for me to see.
Wow, wait, so this is the two-headed snake you guys have, right?
This is the two-headed snake.
Oh my gosh. It's not gonna bite me, right?
No, I don't.
Oh!
Yep, literally instantly, this snake tried to bite me, which is kind of a surprise because this specific snake actually knows me. About a year ago, I visited the guy who originally hatched this snake, and I made a whole video about it. But this zoo literally bought it from him, and a lot has changed about this snake, and I'm gonna show you guys some very interesting stuff.
So the thing that's so interesting about these two-headed snakes is they have like 2 different personalities. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. They can, very much. There's usually a dominant and a non-dominant.
And we can see how that was instantly demonstrated with this left dominant head literally just pulling the right head along as it just sat there. But super interestingly, sometimes the 2 heads will almost fight in which direction they want to go, which causes the two-head snake to just sit there motionless, not moving at all. And here's some footage I recorded last year of this two-headed snake eating some mice. As you can see, both the heads struck at the mice at the same time, but only the left head was actually able to grab onto his mouse. And as that left head started to swallow, all of a sudden the right head decided to just grab on too, so now they were both eating the same mouse. But this could actually be bad for two-headed snakes, so the owner separated the heads, and he gave a separate mouse to the right head so they could both eat in peace. Pretty cool. Anyways, as you can see, this two-headed snake is quite a bit smaller. We got a $25,000 largest snake in the world.
You see, this species is called giant reticulated pythons, and they are absurdly big, and if you can't already tell, I probably don't have enough space right here. I would literally have to transform my whole garage into an enclosure.
That's why instead, to be able to see and learn about a $25,000 snake, I hopped on a plane and flew across the country to this amazing reptile zoo that supposedly has one of these insane snakes.
Yo, what's up? I just traveled across the country because I heard you guys got some of the craziest snakes here. Is that true?
We do.
Oh my gosh, you got to show me.
Okay, you want to see him?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go.
So I followed her across the zoo, and this place was crazy. They had animals everywhere, including literal alligators.
Oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into?
But eventually, I got to this area here and waited while she brought out the $25,000 snake.
Oh my gosh, this thing is insane.
Yes, this is the giant reticulated python, an absolute beast of a snake. And honestly, I was kind of even scared to stand near it. This thing could easily take me out if it wanted to.
This is actually just kind of crazy to stand by. I can just touch it. Like, this is bigger than my hand. What? So how long can this species kind of get? I mean, like, is this like the longest species in the world?
Yeah, so they in the wild have been measured up to 30 feet.
Yep, imagine being outside and just seeing a snake over 30 feet long. I would instantly run away. But before we figure out the exact length of this specific snake, I wanted to try and hold it. But if you couldn't guess, it was insanely hard to do with just one hand because of this snake weighing a minimum of 150 pounds. But despite its massive size, you could tell the snake was being extremely friendly towards us and not biting us or anything. Very interesting.
So how long does it take for one of these snakes to get this long? Like,
It depends on how you feed them. But normally about 7 to 10 years, something like that.
so wow, this thing is 10 years old, and how small do they start? I mean, do you have like an egg or something? Like we can show how it hatched?
I actually do. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, let's go see
let's
that.
go see it.
So she brought me over here where they have tons of these trays full of eggs. Yeah, they keep them in these containers to make sure they have the perfect level of heat to hatch. Yeah, she showed me what one of them looked like, and it's just insane how a snake can hatch out of something like this, then eventually one day be this big. That's a massive size increase.
So yeah, what do they eat to get this big?
Well, I don't know if you're going to want to hear it. They eat about a 10-pound rabbit.
So they just eat giant rabbits. Like, how big would it be? Like, can you show with your hands?
It'd be like, it's a big size rabbit.
Oh.
Nah, so they really just slither around in the wild looking for innocent little rabbits, and then they pounce on it and absolutely devour it. Yeah, rest in peace to any rabbits that see snakes like this. But you see, what makes this species so good at hunting is they literally have these built-in heat sensors on their face. All of these tiny little holes on the upper lip of the python can track exactly where a live prey is, which basically just gives them wall hacks to see rabbits amongst tall, thick grass. And this snake, compared to everyday objects, is pretty cool cool because here it is next to a massive spray bottle. It is so much bigger. Then here it is next to a water bottle. Yep, pretty big. But yeah, this thing curled up is approximately 56 inches long, but fully stretched out, this thing easily reaches over 20 feet. Let's see what a $500 snake looks like.
Now, we're getting pricey, but it's for a very good reason, as you'll see. But yeah, this snake was kind of just shipped in this bag. I feel kind of bad for it. Let me get this out really quickly.
Inside of this bag is a special kind of snake called a Woma python. And he was not happy about being in that shipping bag. He kept trying to strike at me through the glass. But you could see how beautiful this species is with that striped tan and orange color.
Okay, the reason I got this guy for the $500 species is because they're known for being one of the friendliest snake species. But this guy has tried to strike at me a lot. But yeah, I guess he's just super stressed from the shipping.
Obviously, I don't want this guy to be stressed or angry at me, so I put this box over the top to give him some nice darkness, and I went and put him in a secluded and warm part of my house while I built his home. Now I'm just gonna speed run this build in order to not bore you guys, but yeah, it's basically the same as that last enclosure, only this time I put way more wood and branches so the python would have some area to climb over. And these guys can get big, so that's why this enclosure is pretty massive.
Anyways, I got the snake right here. Let's give a check on him. How are you doing in there? And okay. If you don't know what the brown stuff on the floor is, well, it might be poo. But no, that's actually a super good sign, because if you didn't know, when the snakes are in their shipping containers, they don't go to the bathroom at all. But the fact he's just let it all out means he feels a lot warmer and safer now, and that's good. I'm happy you're feeling a little bit better, buddy.
And to make sure he felt even safer, I went and moved him into the enclosure. I still didn't really feel comfortable enough to hold him based off how much he wanted me dead. But yeah, pretty simple stuff, and he went to go slither to safety. He was definitely starting to feel less stressed.
All right, the main reason I wanted to get the friendliest snake species in the world is because, as many of you know, my mom is like scared of all the pets I get. So I was thinking this was gonna help her cure her fear of snakes. But little is she gonna know when we try to feed it, this guy, he's not so friendly right now. All right, Mom, can you come in the garage? Hi, I just got a new pet to show you today.
Okay.
So why don't you come over here and just take a look in this tank and tell me what you see.
Oh my gosh. What kind of snake is this?
That's called a Woma python, and I wanted to get this species because it is the friendliest species in the world,
yeah,
actually.
right. It looks like it's crazy, like it's just gonna strike any second.
Yeah, he is kind of mad right now, but I want to cure your fear of snakes, basically. So I need you to feed it.
No.
All right, go ahead, stick it inside.
Shaking. All right, this is the first time you fed him too, right?
Yeah, he's super hungry. That's the main reason why he's so angry right now. All right, he's coming, he's coming.
No.
Come on, eat it. He looks hungry. You can see the hunger in his eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Are you scared right now?
Yeah, a little bit.
This is supposed to cure your fear, though. Make some mouse noises. Maybe you can trick him. Nice.
Yeah, this dude was taking a while to eat, but eventually we caught this.
Maybe if you just like, don't drop it, but like move.
Oh my god, dude, we're closing this now. I'm gonna get a replay of that to see exactly what just happened because it was scary.
But it looks like he's going to hide in his little hide, so I don't want to stress him out anymore if he's not that hungry. So yeah, thanks for trying to feed him though.
But don't worry, literally as soon as later that day, this snake was feeling way more comfortable and he finally started to eat. Let's go, this is gonna be a sick pet.
And I specifically chose this species because it has an insanely unique special ability that I just have to test.
If you're wondering what species is inside this container, well, everyone, this is a Western hognose snake. And yep, it actually costed exactly $250. The prices in this video are not a lie. But anyways, these things are freaky because the patterns on their back almost look identical to the patterns on a rattlesnake. It has almost the same color too. But the main characteristic that makes this thing stand out is its nose. That, well, kind of makes it look like a hog, apparently. Hence why they are called a hognose snake. Pretty creative.
Now anyways, this thing is actually a real snake, unlike the $1 one, but that means we gotta build it another enclosure. Oh yeah, that's a pretty cool transition. But anyways, this will let us show off its special ability.
Now for the floor, we want to use a material called snake aspen, which is perfect for our $250 snake because it's super easy to dig and burrow through, which yeah, in the wild, these guys apparently like to do to stay protected from the intense desert heat. Then we want to add tons of decorations like the snake hide so the snake can slither inside. And yeah, even though this enclosure looks pretty barren and empty, that's exactly what the snake species prefers, so it can slither around a ton.
So yeah, basically the reason I wanted to get this species is because they're the drama queens of the snake world. They basically put on this crazy show to scare off any predator that gets near them.
But yeah, this guy was just non-stop hissing at me if you listen closely. So I decided to pick him up with tweezers and moved him to the new enclosure.
Okay, there we go. Jeez Louise, you are a feisty fella, Mr. Snake. But the thing is, I didn't even get to show off its coolest special ability yet. Let me try and do that.
Unfortunately though, before I could show you that, Snake decided it was time to go for a little burrow. Yep, like I said earlier, this is something they do to hide from the intense desert heat. This is not their main ability though, but it's just kind of cool to see that they can do this like our first one.
And yes, I actually do have a heat lamp that will recreate the desert heat. I just don't have it set up right now because it makes it easier to film without the roof on.
Anyways, I dug up the snake so I could show you guys its special ability.
First of all, why don't you take a look at his head?
If you look very closely, this snake's head has actually gotten like 2 times as big as it was before. They're actually able to puff out their cheeks when a potential predator is nearby to mimic a rattlesnake's head shape. It's also sort of similar to how cobras make their neck come out to look bigger.
But the main thing the snake does to not get eaten is it actually plays dead.
So while the snake slithered to darkness so he would feel safe, take a look at this footage of when this guy went up to a wild western hognose snake and he started to put his hands near it. Almost instantly, the snake decided to play dead, so it flipped on its back and started to give the funniest performance I've ever seen. And eventually, it just stopped moving completely, and when this dude went to pick it up, you could see how good of an actor it is. It's so funny too, because every time he would flip the snake right side up, it would just flip back upside down instantly. Yo, shout out to Nicole Berry, he's the one who uploaded this, and he has tons of other videos like this. Anyways, I quickly finished setting up everything in his tank and gave him a little water bowl too. As a reward for scaring it a little bit while I was moving it, I gave it a nice juicy mouse. Yeah, pretty cool to watch these guys eat. They'll eat about one of these a week during this stage of life, all the way down to a literal $1 snake.
Yes, so this first snake I was actually able to buy for only $1. Just from some guy on eBay saying he just wanted it gone. But this snake inside is looking extremely weird. I gotta get a closer look at this.
So I opened up the container to reveal that my suspicions were correct. This thing looked extremely abnormal. It literally didn't have scales like a normal snake would, and in fact, it looked more like a mutant worm. But little did I know that these things have some of the scariest mouths out of any animal on Earth.
Yo, and this thing is like slimy. Is this even a snake?
Now, I was right to be suspicious because when I went to scan a picture of this into Google, it told me that indeed it was not even a snake. It said that this is actually something called a giant Mexican Sicilian.
Yo, and it's saying this thing has some of the craziest hunting abilities. Oh my gosh, I just got to test this.
In order to see its special abilities, I quickly built this dude up a home. Google told me to use a bunch of moist dirt to make a deep floor area so the worm snake thing can dig around. Then I put some natural decorations around, and finally, these Sicilian creatures sometimes can be fully aquatic in the wild, but in captivity, all we need is this nice little water dish to fill its water needs.
Well, boy, let me get you in. Now, apparently, these things do have poisonous skin, which is why I'm using a snake hook. And well, now he's in there, let's see his special abilities he has.
Now, these guys' first special ability is, well, they love to dig in dirt, like I was saying earlier. You can see how quickly he just completely disappeared from sight. And well, while this guy settles into his new home, I just had to find some videos of this species hunting. And in this amazing video by Willipede, we could see how this Sicilian just slowly inches up to a mealworm, acting all innocent and stuff, but the second he gets within striking distance, it pounces onto the worm and instantly starts to drag it underground, where we can then see it finish off the mealworm down there. But the thing is, this Sicilian hunting is not even nearly the coolest thing in this video. Bed bugs are tiny parasites that hide in your bed and suck your blood while you sleep. On a website that will literally sell you 10 bed bugs. Now, I don't think these are meant to be kept as pets, but hey, $20, what could go wrong? Let's just buy these. So in this video, I'm gonna build a home for them, document exactly what it's like to have bed bugs as pets, and literally feed them my own blood at the end of the video. Yes, I'm not kidding. I don't know why I'm gonna do this to myself. Anyways, until the bed bugs got delivered, I got out an enclosure to build their home. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no documented case of anyone keeping bed bugs as a pet, so I figured out what they need myself. Yeah, all these supplies are for the bed bugs. Anyways, first up, I started to pour some coconut fiber dirt into the enclosure for step number 1, the floor. You see, for most of the floor, we want to use this dirt material, but that's not it. We actually want to pour a layer of sand on top of it, just like this. You see, I'm doing this because bed bugs would be almost impossible to spot if they were just on dirt, but on the sand, I should be able to see them perfectly. And I really got to make sure I keep track of every bed bug, because if they escape, let's just say I'm not going to be sleeping too well.
Why am I doing this?
Anyways, I finished off the floor by creating some little sand mounds in the back that I would soon be able to cover in decorations. And speaking of decorations, for step number 2, we're gonna put in the natural decorations. For those, I got out some simple stuff like cork bark, spider wood, and some gray stones, and strategically placed them around in the sand. I even stacked a few pieces of wood in this corner and covered the top in some moss to make it look like a tree. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm an expert designer, as you could tell.
And all this stuff is gonna be perfect because bed bugs like to hide under tight little spaces just like these,
Which is also why they like to hide under mattresses. Yeah, it's pretty cozy under there. To finish off the natural decorations, I planted a bit more moss around just to add some more color and bring the whole thing to life. Alright, now for the next step, it's time for the artificial decorations.
And basically what that means is I literally want to build a mini bed from scratch to put in the middle of this enclosure to see if the bed bugs will prefer to hide under natural decorations or if they really just love beds. So I'm gonna buy some fabric and then I'm gonna fill that fabric with cotton. Then I'm gonna sew the ends of it together and probably it'll look something like a bed, but I don't know if it's actually gonna work because I've never really properly sewed before, but yeah.
Anyways, I grabbed all the materials needed and drove home.
So anyways, like I was saying at Walmart, we first just put down the fabric like this. And I said I was gonna use cotton, but I found something that would work even better, which is this giant like foam board.
And so with that foam, I cut out a bed shape, then cut the fabric and got to sewing. Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of just threading the string through randomly, and it ended up looking pretty trash. And eventually the string came apart, so I decided I would just do it the old-fashioned way with some tape, and in no time it was done.
Now, of course, I'm gonna put this in the middle of the enclosure, but that's not all I'm gonna do. You see, the reason bed bugs love mattresses so much is because they smell like humans. So basically what I need to do is make this mini mattress smell like me. And I have the perfect idea for how to do that.
So I got out my bike helmet, lined a little towel rag along the front of it, put it on, and started to go for a bike ride.
So basically, I'm just gonna ride around for like 20 or 30 minutes, and that towel I put in my helmet should absorb all the sweat, and then I could just basically squeeze it on that little mini mattress. Yeah, I'm a genius, I know.
So I went on my little ride up and down some hills, you know, and when I got home, I took the rag off my helmet to see if it would work.
Okay, I think there's like a solid amount of sweat on this, so I guess let me just go and try and squeeze it on top of this. Come on, just get a little bit of sweat out. Oh, shoot. Okay, wait, that's actually a pretty good amount of sweat. Dang, wait. Okay, this is kind of nasty, I'm not gonna lie. And there we go, it just kind of looks like someone peed in the bed now, but hey, this should smell like me now.
Well, now that the mattress is done, it's time to move on to the final step, which is a DIY technology. Now you see, bed bugs are attracted to an air molecule called CO2 because it's the same molecule that humans breathe out.
And since bed bugs love that smell so much, I'm gonna build my own custom CO2 emitter right there, and then I'll test to see if the bed bugs like go flock towards the smell. I don't know, it'll be cool though.
Now to make a CO2 emitter, you first got to get out a nice large soda bottle and pour all the soda out. Well, technically you don't have to pour it out, it's just not healthy to drink that much soda, so yeah, that's why I'm pouring it out. Anyways, then you get the empty soda bottle and fill it up with some special ingredients. First, we fill it up almost entirely with water, and then add like 2 cups of sugar. And then the final step is to add some yeast in here, which is the same thing you use to bake bread.
Basically, all those ingredients I just added are gonna react and do some science, and basically, out the end of this tube that I attached, a bunch of CO2 is just gonna come out, and yeah, I'm just gonna see if the bed bugs go and smell it or something. I don't know.
Well, the bed bug enclosure is now finished, and that means it's time to add those nasty creatures inside and be the first person to have pet bed bugs. Literally doesn't have a roof. Well, I forgot one important step, escape proofing the enclosure.
But don't worry, because I've kept ants before, and I actually got this special serum for the ants that prevents them from escaping, and I'm just hoping that it'll do the same for the bed bugs.
Basically, you just get out a little cotton ball, put some of the special serum on the end, and rub it in along the top edges of the enclosure.
Alright, now even if the bed bugs are able to climb the glass, they're gonna climb up, and then they're gonna get to this stuff, and basically it's just super slippery, so they're just gonna slide right off. And then finally, I'm just gonna put this top on it just like that. That won't actually do anything because these holes are pretty sure too big. Yeah, the bugs could probably just fit through it. All right, well, here they are, the bed bugs. They literally just got delivered, so thankfully they weren't sitting in the snow too long. But as you guys know, I'm not exactly too thrilled to be keeping these as a pet because like I said, I'm literally going to let them be sucking the blood out of my arm. I don't know why I do this, man. But let me just get them in the enclosure I built for them.
So I brought them to my table, cut the tape, and lifted the flaps.
Oh my gosh. I think they're inside of this thing in here. Okay, I guess let me just get this out. And bro, genuinely, if these things escape, my mom is going to be so mad.
And speaking of escape, you might be wondering, how will I prevent them from escaping? Considering the enclosure I made, opened the top of it, and dumped about half of the 10 inside of the enclosure. Immediately, one of the bedbugs started to scurry around his new home looking for cover, and went straight into a dark spot under the nearest rock. But a few seconds later, I saw this bedbug, and he actually ran straight over to the little bed mattress I had made. And after crawling on it for a minute, he set up camp in a little piece of cork bark right next to it. I guess the fact that I had made the mattress smell just like me was working really well, because over the next minute, I saw 2 more of the bedbugs just chilling on the mattress too.
Dang, that's actually cool how they all just went onto this little mini mattress I made instead of all the other decorations. But to be honest, I've kind of already lost track of every single one I put in. Yeah, they're just so small.
But the reason bedbugs are so small is so they can go undetected while hiding in people's beds, and when they find a victim to suck the blood of, they can literally get more than double in size with how much they suck.
Anyways, bedbugs are nocturnal because obviously they feed on people at night. So in order to get them to suck my arm, I'm gonna bring my mom in here at night, show my new pet to her, and then get her to film me getting bit. This is not gonna be fun, but let's just go cut to then. You have to guess what pet is in there based on the stuff.
I'm gonna guess. I'm thinking a spider.
A spider?
A spider.
Well, it's a bug, and I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It's, well, don't get mad at me, seriously. It's bed bugs.
No, it's not, dude.
Yes, it's pet bed bugs. That's funny.
That's not cool.
It's pretty funny. Okay.
No, dude.
Okay, so to attract the bed bugs, I built this little contraption. Basically, I just take that off, and I'm just gonna pour some of this stuff. It's yeast. But basically, this is gonna have a chemical reaction in this bottle, and after I shake it up, it's basically gonna produce carbon dioxide, which is CO2. I'm just gonna leave this tube here, and we'll just see if any bed bugs come out, so you can see them. Wait. Do you see that?
Oh my god.
Wait. Right, no, there actually is one right there. Do you see that? It's like a little tiny orange thing.
Yes.
Oh, that's a bed bug.
Oh my god, you're so crazy.
But the good thing is you're not gonna have to deal with them because, well, I have to tell you something. You remember the other day I got a leech and I let it suck on my arm?
Yes.
I have to do that with the bed bugs.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
They
well.
don't feed off of your arm.
Yeah, they suck your blood.
Oh my god, they do not.
So basically I've collected about, I think, 4 of the bed bugs in this jar. Well, I just gotta roll up my sleeve, I guess, and we're gonna feed them.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so, well, I guess let me just start. We're just gonna tip the jar like that and slowly let them crawl out. Okay, there's one on my arm right there.
Oh
Let's
my
just
god,
test it
dude.
with one.
Yeah, we're just doing one.
Just with
No,
2.
just do 2. Don't do any more than that.
That's okay. We need to get all 4
No,
of
we
them.
do not. No. Okay, put them back. That's it.
Why?
Because they're crawling and I'm not getting them anywhere else in this house.
It's okay, they'll bite me. So basically they can pick up the scent immediately of what my arm is like, and I'm pretty sure these 3 are already all biting me. This
God,
one's just
dude.
the one that hasn't bit yet.
Soon enough, all 4 were biting, and basically all I felt was a little bit of a prick. The pain wasn't anything crazy though. But over the next 10 minutes, my mom and I would watch them fill up with my blood.
Alright, so I just took the camera from you, and as you can see, I think they're starting to fill up. Is this weird?
Yeah, super weird. Oh, you can see them fill up with blood?
Yeah, if you look closely at their bodies, like you remember how they were super thin, now they're kind of getting a little thicker, and it should start to turn red soon. Oh, they already are actually.
Disgusting.
Oh, do you see that one?
Ew.
It's starting to
No.
move. That means it's done.
Oh my god,
So
good.
basically what you do when it's done,
All of them in the jar.
it's okay, we'll get it, don't worry.
You see, basically when they start moving, that's when they're done feeding. So I put 2 of them back in the jar since they were done. Then a couple minutes later, another one finished, and then the final one a few minutes after that.
Alright, and then the last one is in its jar. We're done. That's how you feed your pet bed bugs.
Oh, right. Don't ever do this, anyone.
Alright.
In this video, I've collected the 7 weirdest species of fish to keep as pets. I've got species like one that literally has no eyes, the smallest in the entire world, and even a fish that can walk on land. Yeah, these fish are weird. This is an archer fish, and all I'll tell you is this guy isn't called an archer fish for no reason. It has an absolutely insane special ability. So to get started, I got out a giant fish tank to build its home. I started with the basics like soil and sand, but started adding tons more decorations like rocks and tree branches. And I even put some overhanging branches, as this is very important for the archer fish. You'll see why in a second. Finally, I filled up the tank with water and it was ready for the archer fish. Hope you enjoyed enjoy your new home, boy. It's nice in here. Now, archer fish are very territorial, so he immediately started to swim all around the tank to make sure he was alone. And when he realized he swam up to the top of the tank to start patrolling the branches. You see, this species doesn't eat normal fish food. They only eat live insects. So I got out a bag of small crickets and put them on top of the tree branches. And this is where the special ability kicks in. The archer fish immediately noticed the crickets and got into position. And after barely sticking its mouth out of the water, it shot out a stream of water to try and hit the crickets off the branch into the water. Yes, this fish has literally evolved over millions of years to shoot literal water beams at overhead insects so it can eat them. And this guy, well, he's got pretty bad aim. Yeah, he kept missing the easiest shots.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
But eventually he knocked one in the water and swam right up to it to gulp it up. And yeah, he wasn't good at that either, but he eventually got it.
Oh, you got it. Dang, that was actually super cool.
Yeah, I know it looks like there's nothing in here, but that's because this thing is called an Amazon leaf fish. It literally almost never moves, and in fact, the only way you can tell it's a fish is its super tiny fins and its eyes. But don't let this thing fool you. It's actually a fierce predator that will eat anything. But to show you that, we gotta get its home built. For the tank, I wanted to make it look like the bottom of an Amazon rainforest river or lake or something. Now, I didn't really know how to do that, to be honest, but I just stacked up a bunch of pieces of wood so it looked like tree roots. And after filling it up with some water, you can tell it had this orange hue to it, and that's because I let the tannins from the wood soak into the water because it's super healthy for this fish. So I scooped him up into his brand new home, and immediately he went into hiding. Let's play a little game. You have 5 seconds to find the fish in the tank. Let's go. He's somewhere in here camouflaged. And did you get it? He's right here. Yeah, basically impossible to see, especially when he's in the cloudy, tannin-filled water. Anyways, one of the coolest things about this fish is how it swims. You see, while most fish swim by flapping their back fin around back and forth, this guy needs to look like a drifting dead leaf. So using the super tiny fins, it flaps those barely enough to propel his body around the water. And yeah, it blends in pretty well. Now, in the wild, these guys mostly eat live fish, but I'd feel bad feeding them a live fish, so instead, I've got another idea for some live prey to feed it. Basically, I got this little toy that apparently lets you hatch your own pet shrimp from eggs. And I'm gonna feed them to the leaf, of course. Alright, everything's set up, and I think there's gonna be some stuff hatching in here in like a day or two, so I guess I'll just come back, cut to them. Alright, it's been a couple days, and I don't really know if I did this right, but if you look closely in there, there is actually a bunch of those little, I don't really know what they are, but they're swimming around. Something's alive in there, so I'm sure that's a good sign. So I used a little pipette to suck them out, and as you can see, there's a pretty good amount of them inside of it. Then I just sprayed them all around the leaf fish and waited for him to ambush them, or something like that. But I'm gonna be honest, he didn't really react to them at all, and he didn't eat any of them. But of course he has to eat, so instead I got out a pack of frozen shrimp, which are a lot bigger, and surely he would eat. I dropped them in right next to him, and it didn't take long until he started to suck them up one by one. Looks like he's enjoying it. Anyways, this guy's gonna be a great pet. I've got both glass catfish and upside down catfish, which, you know, are both catfish, so they fit pretty well together. Anyways, before I show you how weird these species are, we gotta first, of course, build another tank, and this one's pretty similar to the first. Sand, rocks, wood, stuff like that, you know, and I wanted to especially make this one look like a swamp, so I even made sure the water was a little murky, and then I was done. So the first weird fish I put inside was the glass catfish, and if you're wondering why they're called glass catfish, it's because they're literally made of glass. I'm just kidding. They're actually made of fish, but they're called glass catfish because they're completely see-through, if you're wondering. If I put my finger behind the fish, you can literally see it through it. That's pretty weird, you gotta admit. Anyways, while these guys adjusted to the tank, I also added in the 2 upside-down catfish I had. Now, this will probably be a shock to some of you, but they're actually called upside-down catfish because they swim upside down a bunch. Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. Now, the reason to why they do this is because their favorite food is algae, and when they're upside down, they get access to the parts of rocks other fish can't reach. It's actually pretty smart. Now, normally if I was upside down this long, I'd get a headache, but I guess they're fish, so I don't know if fish get headaches, to be honest. Alright, now I could just feed these guys just, you know, normal fish pellets, but I think it'd be a lot more interesting to feed them something cool so we can see the food inside their bodies. So that's why I've got this. Apparently it's just some frozen turkey heart, daphnia, and spirulina. Yeah, I don't know what any of that is, but it's probably gonna be cool to see inside their body. Let's drop it in. So I dropped in a few of the cubes cubes, and immediately they started to dissolve into a bunch of tiny little food that floated around the tank. A few of the ghost catfish immediately went and picked it up off the floor and slowly started to chew it up and swallow it. But after they swallowed it, I couldn't see the food in their body anywhere, and apparently that's because their stomach is actually right here. Yeah, I don't know why they have the stomach so close to their mouth. Like, what if they sneeze too hard? The stomach might just like fall out or something. Well, now that the catfish have been fed, this is literally the fish. It is the smallest fish available to buy on the entire internet. It's called a chili rasbora, and no, this is not a baby or anything. It is literally a fully grown adult. I don't even know if it'll be able to eat those tiny little pellets since it's so small, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, for its tank, I bought something to match its size, the smallest one I could find on Amazon.
Oh yes, this is super cool and super big. As you can see, it's about the size of my hand. Okay, it's not big, but for some reason it looks like a Lego block. I don't know why. And it also came with this bag of supplies like rocks and some super bad decorations. So yeah, get this trash out of here.
For the build, it was pretty simple. Just some sand, rocks, and little twigs. And after filling it up with water very carefully, it was ready.
All right, the little thing's ready. But I did just realize that we're actually kind of demoting him. We're giving him a smaller cage. But hey, I'm sure he won't mind. I mean, he's a small guy. Let's just scoop him up. And just be free, my friend. Welcome to your new home.
Now, ignore how the water's a little cloudy in here. I can't exactly put a filter on the tank since it's way too small. But anyways, look at how much the chili rasbora is enjoying his tank. You know, swimming around and stuff. Yeah, he loves it. To feed him, I dropped in some of the pellets like I was saying earlier, and while he was swimming around looking like he wanted to eat them, he didn't actually eat any of them. And yeah, even if he did try to eat them, I don't even think they'd fit in his mouth. Like, to be honest, it's so small, I don't even know if this thing has a brain in its head. It might just be on, like, autopilot, going around in random directions 24/7. Bruh. But anyways, if you thought I was gonna keep this guy in here, you are wrong. That would actually be kind of mean, since they need a lot more room than this to swim around. So I scooped him up and actually added him in the tank with the catfish, since those aren't aggressive at all, and it has the perfect conditions. And I even added in 5 more of the same chili rasbora species so they could school up and be friends with each other. Very cool. Anyways, these are eyeless cavefish, and as the name suggests, these fish quite literally have no eyes. You're probably wondering how it even eats food, swims, or does anything. I don't really know, but I guess we're gonna find out. But first, I got out the tank and started to attach rocks to the back because I want to make this fish tank look like a cave, because you know, we're putting eyeless cave fish in here. We got to make it look like their natural habitat. And once all the water safe spray foam dried, I filled the bottom up with a bit of soil, sand, plants, decorations, and all that stuff.
All right, so I was trying to make this look like a cave, and it's not the absolute best, but hopefully you get the vision. You know, it's a cave.
Anyways, I filled it up with water and got the weird eyeless fish out.
Okay, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of confused on what these guys are gonna do when I put them in here. I mean, they literally don't have eyes, so are they just gonna like swim right into a rock and get brain damage or something? I don't know. I guess we'll see though.
So I released them in one by one, and as I expected, this guy straight away swam right into a rock. Bruh. But apparently that was just a one-off occurrence, because for the most part they actually acted pretty similar to normal fish. So before I fed them some food, I did some research to figure out how they act so normal, and figured out it's because they have this thing on their body called a lateral line system. Basically, it's a bunch of nerves that can detect super slight water vibrations and help them navigate around.
Okay, now this is the fun part. Since these guys are blind, we're gonna see if they're actually able to even eat food. I got these pellets.
So I sprinkled them in, and they started to sink to the bottom. And almost immediately, the fish's insane scent of smell kicked in, and one started to go crazy. And within seconds, the rest of them joined in, and as you can see, they were going insane, eating up all the food off the floor like a bunch of piranhas. Yeah, eyeless cavefish are super cool and super weird. Now, the walking fish in this container is actually called a mud skipper, but this one in specific is named Franklin, and he appeared in my most popular video. But it's been 6 months, and he's changed a lot, so I want to show you the new and improved Franklin. But before I can do that, I want to build him a new home, since his old home that I built for him is pretty old at this point. So I got out an enclosure and started by putting lava rocks along the middle and using spray foam to seal them up. You see, for walking fish, you need a land area, but also a very shallow water area so they can stay wet and swim around. And first, I started with the water area by putting down some aqua soil, sand, and then some rocks and pebbles to make it look more natural. And I finished it off by sticking around some sticks. See what I did there? Sticking around the sticks? Yeah. Anyways, for the land area, I used some coconut fiber for the base and covered it in a different type of dirt, which will have a more mud-like consistency once water is added. I finished it by putting some sticks around and a little bit of moss. Simple, but good. The final step was to add in water to the right side and then also a bunch of water to the dirt to make it muddy.
All right, you can see after we added the water, this basically turned into like mud, which is perfect for the mud skipper, of course. But the problem with this is it's super moist and mold can actually grow here super easily. So to fix that, I've got this pack of springtails, which are basically they're little bugs and they eat mold and stop mold from growing. So yeah, I'm just gonna put them in there like that. Nice.
Just like that, the enclosure was finished and ready for Franklin to be added. Welcome to your new home, buddy. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Now, if you didn't see the previous video about the walking fish, basically, they can swim around like a normal fish as expected, but in reality, they actually spend most of their time out of the water. And as you can see here, he is an absolute expert at that. As long as their skin is wet, they can breathe just fine outside the water, just like a frog or something.
Now, if you guys saw the last video about the walking fish, Franklin is actually deathly as scared of crickets, but it's been about 6 months since then, and well, I got some good news, guys. He kind of likes to eat crickets now, and I'm about to show you exactly what it's like. It's actually pretty cool to watch.
So I dropped some inside, and they immediately started to walk along the bank of the water area. Not a great idea, considering Franklin was watching their every move. But even after some of the crickets got extremely close to Franklin, he kind of just ignored them. He wasn't scared of them or anything, but he just wasn't eating them. So the crickets got off lucky today, because I guess Franklin just wasn't hungry. So if you want to know what it looks like when he eats crickets, just imagine a cricket and then imagine Franklin eating it. Yeah, basically that's it. But anyways, Franklin is easily the coolest weird fish in this video, because fish, they're not supposed to be able to walk on land. This is a $100,000 real pet shark tank. You literally have to feed them chunks of meat. And I'm gonna show you how people care for pets like this, along with tons of other prices of aquatic, what it's like to have a literal pet shark.
Yes, sir. Now, I could go buy some sort of small baby shark species online and build a small little tank, but that would be boring. I want to see a big, fierce shark.
So I hopped on a plane and flew across the country to this very fish store called Aquatics and Exotics. When I walked inside, I was immediately greeted by some absolutely insane tanks. This one had massive freshwater stingrays. This one had a super cool pig-nosed turtle that had a nose that looks like a pig. But right here at the back of the store is where the insanely massive tank that is filled to the brim with sharks is located.
Yo, these sharks are crazy.
Yup, this tank has 17,000 gallons of water because it contains not only this nurse shark, which like to spend most of their time chilling at the bottom of the tank, but also these two super fierce black tip reef sharks, which are known to be some of the most aggressive sharks in the world. And the craziest thing is how you feed them when they're your pets. So I got introduced to a store employee named Sky, so I could show you just that.
You are kind of the one in charge of taking care of all these sharks, right?
Yep, 2 black tips and a nurse shark in here.
Dang, that is so cool. I'm on the mission to kind of find the craziest pet you can keep. Would you say keeping sharks is kind of crazy? Like, is that kind of cool?
It's definitely one up there. Not many people can say they have real sharks in their house.
For sure. But why do you have to have a tank that is so massive for these sharks?
Specifically for the black tips, they are a shark that in the wild requires to be in constant motion to get oxygen through their gills.
Yup, the blacktip reef sharks in specific literally need to constantly be moving in order to get water and therefore oxygen flowing through their gills.
So are these blacktip sharks fully grown?
No, they're still actually young males.
Wow, so they're gonna get a lot bigger than this?
Quite, at least twice
Oh my
the
gosh.
size.
Nah, these sharks are still gonna get twice as big. I can't even imagine what they're gonna eat when they get bigger.
So I'd say I wanna see these guys eat. Can we feed these guys some food?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to see what I'm feeding them today?
Yes, let's do that.
We go grab it.
So Sky brought out an absolute buffet.
All right, so what are we gonna be feeding these sharks today?
So that is the light feeding. That's about 2 pounds of shrimp right there.
This is a light feeding. This is like, I couldn't even eat this all if I wanted to. Let's just get this in the tank.
Absolutely. Ready?
Yes.
I even turned on my GoPro and gave it to Sky as she went behind the scenes to feed the sharks all these shrimp. You can see how she started by splashing her hand in the water to alert the sharks that it was feeding time. And then she started to stick my GoPro under the water, which surprisingly, the aggressive black tip sharks instantly found interesting because they kept swimming straight up to it almost like they wanted to swallow it.
Yo, they're trying to eat my GoPro.
But eventually, it was feeding time, so Sky started to toss massive handfuls of the shrimp into the tank, which, if you couldn't guess, the sharks instantly picked up the scent, and they absolutely started to annihilate these shrimp.
Yo, this guy's about to gulp that shrimp up. Oh my gosh. Yo, look at all these shrimp in front of me. Oh, these sharks are just going crazy for them.
But it wasn't only cool to see how the black tips move around to eat the shrimp, because Sky also showed the GoPro how she trained the nurse shark to come to the surface so she could drop pieces of shrimp in so that guy could eat as well. Dang, that is so cool to watch.
Well, Sky, that was probably the coolest feeding of an aquatic pet I've ever seen. This is honestly one of the coolest pets I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Yep, we've got a $1,000 saltwater coral tank.
Yup, if you didn't know, coral saltwater tanks are some of the most exotic tanks you can get. But the thing is, they get extremely expensive extremely fast. That's why instead, I'm gonna buy this already set up coral tank for $200, and then I can use the rest of the budget to fill it up with way more crazy corals. And dang, look at this video the seller sent me. It already has so much fish and stuff in it. Let's go see if this is legit.
So yeah, I drove out to the cellar and got the tank into my car, although there was definitely something off about it.
As you can see, it's quite a bit dirty, a lot dirtier than it was listed on Facebook. And I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be fish inside, but I'm not seeing anything. We got to get this home ASAP.
So I quickly drove home and got it out at my house.
All right, guys, I just got this back to my setup, and look at this. There's actually a fish inside. Yo, there's a clownfish. Do you see that? Yeah, I guess you can't really see it because it's so dirty. But yeah, let me set up all this stuff.
So yeah, I first added in the extra water I had taken out to transport it. Then I put in the heater, wave maker, water filter, and of course the lights. And then I let it sit for a couple hours to clear up. And oh my gosh, the whole tank came alive very quickly. You could see the clownfish swimming around next to the anemone, the little shrimp constantly moving around everywhere, and there was even a literal sea urchin. I had no clue this was all going to be included in the tank.
But this place would look way crazier if it had tons of rare glowing corals and stuff. So yeah, we definitely got to go buy some of those.
So I drove back out to the aquarium store where I'd bought those plants from earlier and found out they also had a massive coral section.
Yo, this is sick how some of these corals glow. And look, that clownfish is checking that coral out. And also, bro, $400 for a single piece of coral. That's kind of crazy.
If you didn't know, corals literally have thousands of tiny little animals called polyps that live inside of them. And in order to see them come out, I bought this big bag of coral and brought it home.
Now, corals can be extremely delicate, so it's a good thing we already got this set up tank, otherwise our corals would probably die. But because this is set up, it's as simple as just dumping the water from the bags out and putting all the corals I bought inside.
Then over the next hour, I slowly added water from our current tank into this temporary tray. Yeah, a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it because I started to add these corals around the tank in the places I thought would look best, and I left my camera recording so we could see them come alive. The first one I noticed movement from was this top one that we could see the little tentacles of the polyp animals on here starting to come out. And this green one also started to liven up pretty fast as well. The polyps on these corals use all these little tentacle things to eat up food, which I'll show very soon.
Yo, look at these corals. They're looking sick. The only ones that haven't popped out are these two at the bottom. So I guess I'll just leave them be. And in the meantime, let's feed this tank so we can figure out how alive everything in here actually is.
The fish in tanks like this love stuff called brine shrimp. Basically, you pop one of these frozen cubes in a cup of water and they completely start to thaw out into tons of tiny shrimp that you could put into the tank. Instantly, you could see how all the fish in here, like this blue damselfish, started to gulp up the food. The clownfish was also eating some of it while sticking near this anemone that had come with the tank when I bought it. If you don't know what an anemone is, well, it's actually an animal, and they have thousands of microscopic needles on their tentacles to sting and stay safe from fish. And also, they're able to move around through tanks on their own somehow. But for some reason, clownfish evolved to be immune to the stinging, so they just constantly stay near anemones so no other animals will disturb them. But interestingly, there's also these coral shrimp in here that'll eat the brine shrimp with their tiny little claws, and there's other animals which you don't need to feed, like these cool sea snails which go along the glass eating algae, and these sea urchins which do the same. Pretty cool.
Finally, we can't forget to feed the corals with this stuff. You know, it's pretty cool to watch. Let me show you.
Yeah, you can kind of just use this thing as a spray bottle under the water to shoot food at the corals. You can see how the little tentacles of the polyps react to the tasty food and close up a bit. The green one was especially cool to watch, along with this smaller green one where you could really see the little tentacle arms grabbing the food and closing it up to consume it. Dang, the ocean is actually so cool.
All right, I just got this set up in my kitchen, and stuff like the anemone is still opening up. But honestly, for $1,000, it's so cool seeing all the different life in here. I'm gonna rate this thing an 8 out of 10. But you may be thinking, how does a bag of shrimp cost $100? Well, I don't just have one bag or two bags. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bags of shrimp, and we're gonna be able to do some crazy time lapses since we have so many shrimp here.
Yeah, apparently keeping an insane amount of shrimp in the same tank is something lots of people into aquariums do because shrimp are some of the best cleaners of all time. And they'll just constantly explore around the tank, eating any dirt or algae that would make the water dirty. These ones in specific are called cherry shrimp because they have a red color in their body like a cherry. Yup, it's a pretty creative name if you ask me.
Now, before we get out a piece of steak to feed to these guys and record on a time lapse, let's work our way up the food scale and start with the shrimp pellets, which I bought these thinking they were shrimp food, but on here it says they're actually for fish. So I'm thinking maybe these are just made out of shrimp. They're not actually for shrimp, but I guess we can still try and see if they'll eat it. Let's just start by dropping in one of the pellets.
Now, immediately after dropping this single shrimp pellet in, one of the nearby shrimp basically pounced onto it. Dang, I guess these shrimp like eating shrimp because soon after, another one also came straight onto it. You can kind of see in the zoomed in footage how they use their tiny little mouths to break up this little pellet and eat it. But yeah, over the next couple minutes, this single pellet started to get swarmed by every single shrimp that saw it. Yeah, started to get pretty crowded, but that's what is so cool about having so many shrimp. They just absolutely decimate any piece of food you give them.
Anyways, to feed the shrimp bigger food sources, I've got a way bigger tank. So I think I'm gonna go get some supplies so we can build these guys a nice little home real quick.
So I drove to the store to start shopping. Since we got so many shrimp, I really wanted to spend a ton of time to choose the best decorations for these guys so they could have a beautiful home. And of course, that also meant I had to get some plants.
Okay, as you guys know, I usually get my aquatic plants here at Petco, but today I want to try something different because, oh my gosh, these got to be getting more expensive. $12 for this. It's literally dead.
So instead, I drove across the town to an aquarium store I had never been to. They, of course, had tons of cool stuff like this arowana, frogs, and even this massive pleco. But of course, they also had exactly what I was looking for.
Ooh, yeah, this is actually perfect. And it's actually a good deal. I mean, $8 for that big plant in the back.
So yeah, I asked the store employees to bag me up some, and I brought all my supplies home. Since the tank isn't insanely large, it was quite easy to start laying everything down. We start with the aqua soil, which gives the nutrients to the plants, and we cover it in a layer of sand so it won't make the water dirty. Finally, I added around some of the decorations I bought to make this place stand out a bit.
Favorite decoration I bought was a pineapple from SpongeBob, but I unfortunately dropped it as I was getting it out my car, so yeah, it's kind of just in a bunch of pieces now. But I think I can still fit that in there, just like that. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty cool. SpongeBob, it's under the water, makes sense.
Then I added in all those plants I had just bought and filled the thing with water.
All right, there we go. Technically, this water filter at the back isn't needed since the shrimps kind of clean the water themselves, but it's still recommended, which is why I have it. But oh, we do got to get to this bad boy inside. It's a light up air stone, which if you don't know what an air stone is, it's this amazing contraption that makes bubbles in the water, and this one lights up, so it's extra special. Oh man, that's actually fire. I'm gonna have to get more of these, I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways, this tank is now finished and ready for all of our little shrimps to go inside. Immediately, you can just see how there is constant movement going on because of the sheer amount of shrimp. Every single little location in the tank had its own little shrimp life being lived.
Now you'll see I left this little open area right here. Well, that's for us to test our next 3 food sources, and our next food source is a carrot. But yeah, they're not just gonna eat a raw carrot. It's too hard for their mouths. They can't chew it up. Instead, we gotta soften up the carrot in some boiling water, just like this. And yeah, just let it cook for a couple minutes. And when the carrots are done cooking, we can bring them back to the shrimp.
So I cut off a piece and plopped it straight into the tank. Now this time it was completely different than that shrimp pellet because while a couple of the shrimp sort of checked out the carrot a little bit, ultimately none of them really stayed for long enough to eat it. Come on guys, do you not like vegetables or something?
Oh well, I guess they don't like carrots. But before we try the steak, I want to try one more vegetable. Let's do spinach.
Now with this, I also had to boil it quickly, and then I put it in the water as well. And yeah guys, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed by the spinach too, because even though this is so nutritious and Google said the shrimp would eat it, well, they never ate it at all.
Bro, come on, I'm just convinced shrimp don't like eating vegetables at all. Yeah, let's get this trash out of here. And let's let's move on to our final food source, a entire steak. Well, I shouldn't say the entire steak because that would make the water pretty dirty. So I'm just gonna cut off a little piece just like that. And well, I'm just gonna put this in.
So I put the steak in, and thankfully this time we at least got a bit of action. Because after about 10 minutes, you could tell they certainly weren't swarming it, but there was the occasional shrimp going on to the piece of meat. And it was kind of cool because you could see their microscopic little mouths taking tiny little bites out of the meat. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, for being in here for 2 hours, it was a bit disappointing that they didn't eat this more. I guess with shrimp, you just want to stick to the boring foods like pellets, pets, all the way down to a literal $1 pet axolotl.
Yup, I just found this listing for $1 axolotl. But if you didn't know, axolotls usually cost a lot more than $1, so I'm like worried, is this thing gonna be in bad condition or something? I don't know, but let's go investigate.
So I drove to the seller's house, which thankfully wasn't too far. When I got there, he said he didn't want to be on camera, but he showed me the axolotl tank and he told me why they were only $1. Apparently his pet axolotl had way too many babies, and inside of this tank was one of the last babies he hadn't sold yet. So I quickly scooped it up into a bucket I brought with clean water, packed it in my car, and drove home.
All right, I made it, and I'm a little worried about this axolotl's condition because it didn't really seem like it was being kept in the best condition. You doing all right, little buddy? Let me just scoop you up and we can get a closer look at this guy.
And unfortunately, my suspicions were correct, because when I took a closer look at the body of this baby axolotl, I noticed its front right hand was missing. If you look over here, this is what it's supposed to look like, but yeah, I guess this hand must have accidentally got cut off because of how fragile baby axolotls are.
Dang, that actually sucks. We gotta help this guy, and thankfully, I got just a plan.
You see, I've got these things that when we plop into water, they turn into tons of little bloodworms. These are some of the most nutritious and also delicious foods for a baby axolotl, so I sort of just made it rain bloodworms on this guy, which you can see he absolutely started to devour up. If you didn't know, axolotls are extremely amazing in that they are one of the only animals that have the ability to regenerate limbs when they lose them. And by eating these bloodworms, this guy will now have the nutrients to do that very same thing for his hand.
Yo, for $1, this thing might be my favorite pet. It's so cute. Oh my gosh.
And I would learn, apparently this baby axolotl was even cooler than I thought, and in order to see that, I got out this quite a bit larger tank, and I started to lay down the floor of his new home. Even though our axolotl is so small and just a baby, they grow at a rapid pace, so in only a few months, this whole tank will be getting used up. And for the decorations, literally, we're just gonna use this big piece of wood and a few aquatic plants I had laying around in my garage.
Yep, that's it. We're done. You see, baby axolotls have skin that can scrape super easily, and since ours is already missing a hand, I just wanted to keep ours super simple till he gets a bit bigger. But oh my gosh, he's so cute, and I think he's ready to go inside.
So I let this baby loose into his brand new home. Instantly, he loved it, and you can just see how much he was swimming around and checking out his new enclosure.
Yep, that's one thing about baby axolotls. They're just way more active than adult axolotls usually are. Wait, I have something fun I want to try. What if I put some worms near the axolotl's face? Am I able to make it follow the direction of the worms? Wait, it kind of is.
Yep, I kind of just thought it would be funny to make the axolotl follow my tweezers like it was a fishing lure, basically. And surprisingly, he actually followed it for quite a long time up this log, but eventually he got bored and swam away. But yeah, it was kind of fun to lure him around this tank in random directions, and every now and then I would let him have a big old bite of the worms because he was just so cute to watch eat. I have no idea what condition the one I'm gonna get is gonna be in, but I want to do my part to help. Hopefully we'll still be able to save it. Let's add this to the cart. And of course, I paid extra for one-day delivery, so this axolotl didn't have to spend any extra time in this box.
Oh, I really hope this axolotl is okay. Okay, there's ice packs. That's a good sinus package. Well, now for the moment of truth. Let's see this axolotl.
The axolotl was alive, and so I quickly brought it over to this temporary tank so I could put her inside and get a better look. She was a beautiful black axolotl, almost 10 inches long, meaning this thing was fully grown. Now, I actually went and emailed the people I bought this from, and they told me when they got it, this axolotl was found at a pet shop. And when they got it, it had these massive white spots on it and even a chunk of its tail missing. But axolotls are amazing because they're one of the few animals that are able to regrow limbs literally from nothing. It's insane. And this girl had already made a substantial amount of progress in healing her tail, as you can see. But they also said that she's not fully recovered yet, and they said to add this chemical called a stress guard, which
I have right here, as you can see. And yeah, basically this stuff will add a little bit of a slime coat to the axolotl skin and help it recover even faster in this temporary tank.
So it's my goal to get this axolotl fully thriving again by the end of the video, and while we wait for the stress guard to take effect, let's build its dream home, which every axolotl tank of course starts with the floor, which we'll start by adding in a layer of this aqua soil that will give the proper nutrients to all the cool plants we're gonna add in here. Then we're gonna cover that with a layer of sand so the soil won't make the water dirty at all.
But for this build, I've got these. Like a bunch of black crystal rock stuff that I can just go and scatter all over the sand.
Obviously, our rescue axolotl has this unique dark color. So for this whole enclosure, we're gonna be matching that theme as much as I can. As you can see, I got super small black rocks that are almost like sand, medium-sized pebbles, and even large stones, which adds a ton of variety all over the sand. Very nice. But now the tank needs some big rocks, and as you can see, I've got a few different types. But the choice of which to use is clear. You see, axolotls have super delicate skin that can easily scrape on stuff, and especially our rescue axolotl cannot afford to get scraped while he heals. So I'm going to use the smoothest stones here with no rough edges, which I put a few of those on the side, and I also got out some of these pieces of wood and kind of played around with them to see which style I liked most, and I ended up deciding on this with the two long pieces of branches on the two sides. But as you can see, I've kept the middle of this enclosure completely empty. That's because secondly, I'm going to be building an axolotl cave, which yes, will literally be a cave that looks like an axolotl's head, which, well, I mean, that's the plan at least. I don't know how well it's gonna go.
And building this for the axolotl is gonna be perfect because in the wild, they absolutely love dark sheltered areas because it keeps them safe from predators. And I guess caves are made out of rocks, so I'll just start kind of stacking them around here. I bought a bunch of rocks, as you can see.
And after measuring how wide the cave was gonna be, I decided to build it outside of the tank to make it easier. Basically, the plan is we line up the rocks in a kind of circular shape, and then we get out some spray foam and, well, we just start spraying to connect them all. Yeah, I love spray foam so much because it's so useful for all of my aquarium builds. Anyways, I continued to stack the rocks up more and more with spray foam till it ended up looking sort of like the shape of an axolotl head. We got the mouth as the entrance to the cave. Then I put on some giant googly eyes to, obviously be the eyes. And finally, axolotls, of course, have these little hairy things coming out of the side of their head. These are actually the axolotl's gills, which let it breathe, which obviously we had to put on this cave, so I got some of these dark red pipe cleaners and kind of just stuck them on the side of the rocks.
All right, but as you can tell, this is obviously a little bit tacky. I mean, the spray foam is basically like a different color than the rocks. So that's why I'm gonna add some paint. And don't worry, I double checked to make sure this is aquarium safe once it dries. The last thing we need is paint toxicity for our injured axolotl.
So yeah, I went and carved off all the excess spray foam and painted the parts that I thought would make it look better. And anyways, here is the final axolotl cave. And as you can tell, it's basically a one-on-one replica of our axolotl. So I went and put it inside, and well, boom, it is done.
But you see, the coolest thing about this axolotl cave is if we go off and turn off, all the lights, the eyes glow in the dark, kinda. It's not even that dark in here. If it was pitch black, this would be kind of scary to be looking at at night, I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways, before the rest of the build, you're probably wondering how the axolotl is doing. Well, she's actually doing really good. It's been about 8 hours since putting her in here, and you can tell she was being way more active, walking around thanks to that stress guard.
But I've been doing even more research of how to heal the axolotl, and a lot of people are saying to use Indian almond leaves in the water. I didn't even know what those were, but I went out and bought some, of course. Whatever I can do to give the axolotl his best health, I will do. And I guess you just put them inside like that, and then just mix it around. Okay.
Immediately, you can see the leaves provided a little bit of cover above the axolotl, which probably helps her feel safer, but it also starts to slowly turn the water a cloudy tea color. Basically, this is because the leaves are spreading this thing called tannins around into the water, which is just some natural thing that helps the axolotl skin get even healthier. Nice.
And if you didn't already know, axolotls literally don't need any sort of land area in their tanks.
Which of course, while that goes into effect, the next step for the tank is DIY decorations. And this time, I've got a really good plan. I got a brick and chisels again. Yep, a couple videos ago, I tried to make a fish statue by carving it out, and it looked super good and super realistic, as you can see.
Well, one of you guys commented saying I should make an axolotl statue, so let's see how this goes.
So first of all, I sketched out how it was gonna look, and this time I got out a professional carving kit. And yep, I don't know what any of these tools do, but I immediately got to work. Once again, I refused to watch any sort of tutorial on how to properly do this, and that might have been reflected in my work quality because this stone was way harder to carve out than the one before. And even this is super sped up. If you see the real speed of how slow I was going, you could probably understand how painful this was. So I decided to just call it finished here.
All right, check it out. As you can see, it is absolutely, I mean, it's really good. This could easily belong in the museums besides the other greatest works of art. Actually, guys, I'm just kidding. This looks like the stupidest caveman tried to like draw a lizard on the side of his cave. It's not very good. Hey, it was still kind of fun to build, so I'm just gonna plop that right there. And if you think my sculpting work is super good, go ahead and leave a comment saying what I should build next. I might try one more, and I don't really know if it's gonna go too well.
I also put on some googly eyes because, of course, everything needs googly eyes to look good. I'd love for the plants in here to match the black theme, but unfortunately, black plants mean dead plants. So I'm gonna have to stick to some old-fashioned blue plants. I mean green plants. They don't have blue plants. So you already know the drill. I drove to Petco, pretty much bought out their entire stock. And by the way, sorry to anyone that needs to get plants here after I visit. I always buy all the good ones. And I brought them back home. Now, for some reason, I forgot to click record on my camera during the planting process. But just imagine this is what it looked like. I took the plants, put them in the sand, and I did that with all of them. Yep, pretty revolutionary stuff. Then I filled it with cycled water, which I also forgot to record, but by the end, it looked like this.
But it's this thing. It's a circular air bubble maker, and it should give oxygen to this whole tank.
I was just gonna go and put it inside, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to see what it looked like in action before we filled up the tank. So I put it in this temporary one and check it out. Oh yeah, look at the bubbles. I don't know why every time I put one of these in my tanks, it makes me excited. And yeah, I kind of was just playing around with it a little bit too much, watching the bubbles go in weird directions. Anyways,
Which, yup, I've got right here. And I'm gonna go and hang it right above the tank so I always know what's inside of here.
so don't worry, to follow the outline of this picture. To make the drawing on the plaque, I first drew the pattern out of pencil, and if I thought any part looked bad, I erased it and redrew it. And by the end, the outline was pretty similar to the one on my phone. And don't worry, I know you can barely see this, so in order to actually engrave it into the plaque, I now had to use this wood burning thing. Basically, the end of this pen is like a bajillion degrees hot, and it literally burns the pattern into the wood. It's kind of like what I did in my camouflaged mantis video when I made the sticks black, but yeah, just much more controlled, and it didn't take too long to finish it all up. I even went and wrote what I was gonna name the axolotl at the top of the plaque.
Yup, I'm naming it Black's the Axe. A lotl in parentheses. Because obviously, it's a black axolotl. I feel like that name fits and it rhymes. Black's the axe. Anyways, let's hang this up.
So I went and hung it above the tank. It's time to get the axolotl inside and do tons of other fun stuff with him to give him the best life after being injured.
Oh, Blacks, I got some good news for you. I don't know if you've ever been in a proper enclosure, but what I'm about to add you to definitely is.
So I brought my new friend over to the enclosure and let him free. Immediately, he was already super active, exploring around the whole thing, which was a good sign.
But I'm gonna be obviously doing more than just watching this guy. I have all these fun things that I want to test with this guy real quick. And the first one is food. Let's test 3 different food sources. They're axolotl pellets. I have a feeling that he's not gonna like eat it as fast as those worms. That was like literally under a second, but let's try.
Now this time, let's just say the axolotl wasn't too interested because it took seconds before she even did anything. But she did end up putting her nose right up to the pellet to figure out what was in front of her. You see, axolotls have pretty bad eyesight, so they usually rely on their nose to scope out stuff. And here, after giving the pellet a very, very thorough sniff, she eventually took a bite at it, tasted it in her mouth for like a second, and ultimately spat it back out. Okay, I guess she doesn't like pellets. Hey,
It's some like freeze-dried bloodworms. Yeah, let me unpackage these.
the goal is to see how quickly Blacks will eat each food source to see which she likes the most. And well, with these bloodworms, she was actually pretty interested, because after like a second, she saw them and snapped, but she missed them. So she tried another attempt at eating them and failed again. But finally, she did actually get a hold of the rest of the worm, and boom, that only took like 10 seconds. Yeah, and she also looked so cute and happy after eating that. Dang, she must have been hungry.
All right, these are proper earthworms, basically. Yeah, let's see how long this one takes.
And this time, the axolotl must have set a world record because it only took a little over 1 second for her to get a hold of this worm and start devouring it. I mean, let's get an instant replay on that. Nah, look, she was ready for that worm, and yep, she was even happier after having this in her mouth because it must have tasted spectacular. Okay, this is good knowledge. I know to stick with the worms now. Anyways, about 10 minutes later, I noticed Blacks had walked herself into the axolotl cave that I'd built for her. Seems like she was just gonna chill in here for a bit. Hey, I'm glad she's liking it and using it.
Now for the final thing I want to test with the axolotl, that's currently in the cave is, well, a GoPro. Yep, I've got a GoPro that I'm gonna stick underwater and do some fun stuff with it. All right, click record, and let's switch to this camera, baby. Okay, I'm gonna start going underwater.
And yeah, after getting it to the bottom and kind of just sticking it inside the cave, you can see the axolotl's body was actually right here. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see since the axolotl matches the color of the rocks, but yeah, she was just chilling in here. To see if I could lure her out, I actually went and picked up some more of her favorite food, which is the worms, of course. At first, I was kind of just waving them around in there, but she didn't really see them. Well, that was until this, when I put the worm a little deeper in, and just like that, the axolotl took it straight from my grip and was now devouring it. Yep, blacks will never pass up on the opportunity to eat a nice juicy worm, and she was not letting me grab it back, so I decided to just let her have it.
And terrariums are an awesome way to bring a chunk of an ecosystem into your room, but they can get extremely expensive. That's why today I'm gonna build the best $10 terrarium and the best $1,000 terrarium to figure out if you actually need to go into debt to create one. And to start off,
And oh yeah, these are more in my budget. Okay, this one might work well. 3 sort of new jars. They're apparently in excellent condition, but one has a giant crack in it. I don't know if that's excellent. Yeah, I mean, I could probably make like leaf scott out of this and stuff. I don't know. Let me just go buy it. Okay, so I met up with the guy and gave him the $5 bill, you know. And of course, now I got the jars. Oh, that did not sound good.
and because I had multiple jars, I got the idea to build a different biome in each one.
Like, what if in this one I built a forest, this one I built a desert, and then in this one I built a lake? I mean, if I built a lake, it'd be more of an aquarium than a terrarium, but, whatever.
So that's what I planned on doing, and then at the end, I'd be able to compare the $10 biomes with the $1,000 ecosystem to see which was better.
Okay, so I'm gonna create this first jar into a forest. And to do that, I'm gonna need some basic materials like dirt, wood, rocks, and plants. The problem is, though, that we only have $5 to turn all of these jars into terrariums. And literally just a bag of dirt is over $10. Ooh, that's not good. Thankfully for me, dirt is actually free if we just, you know, walk outside. Oh yeah, look at this quality dirt right here. Let me just, you know, dig this up. All right, the dirt has been acquired. But before putting it in, I have to make a drainage layer in this jar first because that's just what terrariums need. But thankfully, that can be done easily again by just walking outside and picking up some rocks. All right, I put the rocks in, but now typically you'd use some sort of material like this window screen to separate the drainage layer from the substrate. But of course, window screen is definitely not in our budget, so we're gonna have to think of another alternative.
So I did some searching around outside, hoping I could find something.
Okay, I guess there's some plastic here. Wait, this could actually work. Has some like Chinese on it. I don't know what this says, but okay, wait, let me see if I can use this.
And as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's terrarium substrate separator. I poked some holes in the plastic to allow water to pass through, and that let me put the dirt on top.
And there we go, the base of the forest terrarium is finished.
But obviously this is not a forest, it's just dirt. So in order to make it a forest, I needed to add in some decorations, which just meant I had to go outside again and pick up more stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what this entire forest build is.
As you can see, we got all sorts of supplies, which is gonna allow me to customize my terrarium to my artistic liking. And wait, look at this plant here. The roots on this one looks like it's growing some sort of vegetable or something. Wait, is this like a radish or a green onion? Wait, does it taste like one? Oh, oh, it does not taste like one.
Anyways, I put the decorations in the build.
All right, now time for the grand reveal of this forest. Let's move this down and oh yeah, look at this.
Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but at least it looks pretty good for being basically free. Now, there's just one more thing to do to finish this little forest, and that's to add some life into it. Now, it'd be cool to add like a frog or something in here, but yeah, this is probably not big enough for a frog, so I'm gonna have to settle for something I find outside again.
Now, to be honest, I'll just set up like an earthworm or something. Oh wait, I see something right there. Wait, do you see that? Oh. Wait, bro, there's a cricket. Okay, wait, this is even better than a worm.
So I picked up the cricket and put him into his new home.
All right, and the cricket is in there. Can you see it in there? It's kind of hard to see, but it's right there.
The forest was now complete, and to finish off the $10 builds, I still needed to make the desert and a lake, which will be a lot more interesting to build, since I won't be able to just find the materials.
And as you know, the forest build is already done, so we're moving on to the desert build now. Now for the drainage layer of this, we can do the same thing we did in the forest and just go get some rocks. But now this is where things get tricky, because I can't really just go outside and get sand, because I basically live in the middle of not a desert. You know, there's trees outside and stuff. So that means the only way I can get some sand is if I buy it. I don't know if there's actually gonna be any sand under $5 that I could buy. Let me just search it up anyways, and oh, that's not good. And wait, $2 for sand. Oh my gosh, it's not even lying. $3 for sand. Okay, that is actually so good. I can actually get some sand now. Well, I guess let me go to Betco. I'll be there soon.
Thankfully, it was still in stock when I got there, so I bought that, and then I poured it in the jar.
Now, similar to the forest terrarium that we built earlier, we're gonna need plants for this desert one. Now, ideally, we get a nice cactus in this thing. I think that'd look pretty cool. The only problem is, as you know, our budget is lacking a little bit. Okay, well, maybe there's a chance I can buy a cactus for super cheap. Cactus near me. And yeah, $1,000, $200 for a cactus. Wait, there's actually one for $1. Wait, what? Okay, wait, this is actually good. I can buy a cactus for $1. That fits in our budget. It's at this store called Michael's. I've never even heard of that, but $1. I guess I'm going to Michael's.
So I went there, and they had some absolutely fantastical cacti to choose from. So I got myself this.
This massive cactus was only $1. Dang, I've like literally never heard of Michael's. There was no cars in the parking lot. Guys, you need to go to Michael's. They got some fantastical deals there. All right, let's get this in here. I'm gonna dig out a little hole with my golden spoon. Don't ask why it's golden.
And so I added the cactus in, and the desert build was now complete. But to fully finish the terrarium, I once again needed to add life into it. And since I wouldn't be able to buy anything with my 71-cent budget, I got the idea to put a worm in there from outside to act as a sandworm. Because, you know, I didn't really have any other options.
All right, let's put this sandworm in his home, and there we go. The desert build is now finished. I hope you enjoy your new life, little boy. Okay, so I was planning on moving straight to building the lake right after this. But you remember how I got this cactus at Michael's? Or, Michelle? I don't remember what it was called, but you know how I got this cactus? The first 2 terrariums are done. Now we just gotta focus on this last one, which of course is gonna be the lake. Now, I bet some of you have probably been wondering, how on earth am I gonna turn this into a lake? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Let me show you how we're gonna do it. We're just gonna take this, we're gonna take it out to my car, buckle it in, and drive.
Now you see, I figured the best way to make a lake terrarium is to just go to an actual lake and scoop up the sand and water. That way I wouldn't have to worry about our lack of money.
All right, I've made it. I mean, it's not a lake, it's a river, but no, it's gonna have to do. And this is very embarrassing. I really hope someone doesn't see me trying to pick up this water and put it in my jar. I have Serrate around me, no one's near me. I have time to get this water, baby. Give me this water.
So I collected all the water I needed and also scooped up some of the dirt so I could bring it home. So I added everything in, and the lake ended up looking like this. Yeah, not very appealing. Well, there wasn't much I could do. So anyways, I needed to add life into it. And just recently they had babies. So I'm just gonna yoink this guy and put him into his new home.
Do you even see it in there? It's there, I think. Wait, no, I think it's there. I can't even tell where it is. I think it might be dead.
The $10 builds were all completely finished, but don't leave yet, as now I'm adding the most coolest, epicest for my $1,000 terrarium just arrived. So I'm gonna start building that first.
Okay, this is pretty heavy, but I think I got it. There we go. That is the box, you know? So let me open this up, and I swear, if this thing is not already put together, I'm gonna be very mad, because I do not want to build this from scratch. Oh, no, I don't think this is put together. Yeah, it's definitely not. There's just glass panes here. Okay, there goes 2 hours probably.
2 hours later.
And along with the tank, I also did buy a bunch of supplies, about $395.87 worth of supplies, which are right here. But to start off the build, we basically got to get rid of all of this stuff, so, because the first step for building this terrarium is to put this little water filter chamber thing that I built into it.
For this $1,000 build, I'm going all out, and I'm making an entire chunk of the rainforest with a working river running through it. And this will let me filter the water and allow fish to live in there. So to build this thing, I first sprayed the entire back of the glass with some silicone, which will allow me to put tree branches sticking out on it. To keep the wood in place, I used some spray foam to do some more spraying. And finally, I stuck a bunch of dirt all along the back so it looked more natural.
All right, look at this thing. This thing is actually enormous. This is like as tall as me. And don't worry about this being ugly right now, because later on, I'm gonna add a ton of plants here to make this actually look good. But for now, we're gonna focus on the floor area, because right now, I'm gonna make this into a river.
To make it, I first glued in a piece of foam to easily separate the land and water areas. Then I got a ton of rocks and wood to create a natural looking underwater environment, because you know, there's usually rocks and wood underwater.
All right, there we go. That is done now. So let's finish that underwater area look and add some sand in, because, you know, you need sand to make an underwater section. Okay, now that the floor and the water portion's done, let's get to the floor and the land portion. For this, I'm gonna be mostly using these Leica balls. Honestly, these kind of look like cocoa pebbles, but I think I learned my lesson. Now, to complete this floor area, I need to put a layer of substrate on top of it.
But before doing that, I used this pump to do some plumbing and create a tube that will allow the river to actually have a working water flow. Then finally, I added the dirt on top to finish the floor area.
All right, now there's just 2 more things to finish this build. 1 to add water and 2 to add plants. And thankfully I can do that first one pretty quickly, just like this.
So now I want to test if the water flow actually works to see if we can actually turn this into a river. All right, so let me plug this thing in and this better work. I spent like the past 2 hours doing this and oh, okay, so it's working, but the water flow is very extreme. That's kind of messing up the sand. Okay, this is just making the water very dirty right now. Can you stop doing that?
So to fix the issue, I got some tape to try and make the end of the tube more narrow.
Oh, nah. Oh, nope, that is not working. Oh, no. Taping it does not work. Oh my God.
Now in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have been doing that right next to the power strip, but thankfully my house didn't explode. Anyways, eventually I got the water flow working and the $1,000 terrarium was starting to come together pretty nicely.
Pretty much all the plants we're gonna need for this $1,000 build for a pretty good price. It barely even made a dent in our budget. So I'm gonna go and put these in right now, I guess. And oh shoot. Oh, that is not good. While I was putting all that spray foam on the back, I was supposed to also put these little plant pots there, but I forgot, so this is gonna be a lot harder to put the plants in the bin.
But thankfully, I'm a genius, and I used my hot glue gun to glue all the plant pots on the back of the wall. Then I was able to put all the plants in the pots. I even got some aquatic plants to put in the water area to fully round off everything in this $1,000 build.
Now, some people may say these very obviously black pots put all around the terrarium is ugly, and well, to those people, I say that you are probably right. This is pretty ugly. But I guess this is the downside of the $1,000 build. It's too complex to make.
Well, anyways, to complete this terrarium, I needed to add life into it, which I was gonna do by adding in fish. Super cool life into the $1,000 build. Guppies.
Okay, to you, maybe they're not the coolest fish ever, but to me, I mean, they look pretty cool. They got spots and fins and, okay, you know, let's just add them in.
So I put some of this API quick start bacteria in, so it would be safe to add the fish whilst the cycling process took place. And immediately, you could tell they absolutely loved their new home. Well, I can't say that they loved it for sure, but I mean, they were swimming around and stuff, so they probably did. I even turned on the river flow to see how they would react. Most of them seemed pretty annoyed, but one of them kept playing around in it and flinging himself around the river.
The $1,000 terrarium and $10 terrariums are now all finished. Are the $10 terrariums better, or is the $1,000 terrarium better? And well, the answer is pretty obvious. The $1,000 terrarium is better. But you do gotta remember, this is literally $1,000. Like, literally, you could replace this with a used car, or, okay, maybe not a car, but 2 PS5s, a gaming computer, literally $1,000.
1 month ago, this rainforest was nothing but a barren wasteland. But as time went on, predators evolved and prey fell. Even natural disasters would ravage the ecosystem. But despite the dangers, some animals went on to thrive. Although it started from nothing, in every blank slate lies a tale waiting to be told. So here is the story of my 30-day rainforest simulation. On day 1, the beginnings of the rainforest were constructed. Earth was layered, moss was spread, and plants emerged. As greenery took over, our journey of life was only just beginning. Because hidden deep under the soil, something was alive. There were earthworms. These creatures are expert dirt excavators, helping plant roots spread. While they dig, earthworms also decompose decaying material within the soil, transforming it into food for the plants above. With just these little worms and the plants, this ecosystem would be able to thrive for years on its own. The ecosystem was falling apart, and the worms could do nothing to save it.
Are you serious right now, bro?
The ecosystem needed to be saved, as I still had insane plans for upcoming stuff. I had to introduce a top-tier predator to the rainforest, a creature that would demolish the cricket's population. Let me introduce you to the Australian white tree frog.
This fierce predator of the rainforest should do the job of eating the crickets perfectly. And as soon as I let him go, the hunt begun. Crickets were breeding. And while they may look cool, these crickets were very, very hungry. They were starting to eat every single plant they laid their eyes on. The crickets could feel its presence and they tried to hide. But it was no use. The frog had his eye on multiple crickets. And the helpless insects could do nothing about it. It only takes a singular strike from the frog. And with it, he earns himself a nice and tasty meal. The cricket's population finally begun to fall as there was a new king of the jungle. And sustainable once again, and along with this newfound peace, something else appeared. A thick and misty fog started to roll in. While the rainforest had seen some rain prior, today the forest was about to see its biggest storm yet. Out of nowhere, thunder appeared and the rain started to pour down. This would be a long storm, so the animals had to buckle down. The frog quickly retreated behind a log, while the worms burrowed under the ground even further. It was intense, and the winds even blew away some of the leaves. But after 2 days, it finally started to calm. As the rain clouds receded, it was obvious what they had left behind. A tiny little pond had been formed. And while it was small, this water would allow for an entirely new type of life to thrive. In fact, if we zoom in, that life is already visible. Springtails. All over the surface of the water were these micro insects. In just the few days that it was raining, these creatures rapidly reproduced all over the forest. But thankfully for us, these guys have no ill intent, as their main purpose is to break down organic matter in the plants and water, helping the whole ecosystem to thrive even more. The little springtails even ventured onto this log to clean it. But this sustainability would not last very long, as under this very log, something bad was brewing up. Over the next few days, an odd sound was continuously growing louder and louder. There was a new creature alive under this log. So on day 14, I lifted up the log to expose what was underneath. Mealworms were in full breeding mode. These mealworms are different from the earthworms at the start of the video, as their numbers are much, much larger. Because of this, they're stripping too many essential nutrients from the soils, and in turn, they are tipping off the balance of the ecosystem. The plants once again started to disappear, and by day 17, these mealworms were absolutely everywhere. The frog had noticed these new insects and immediately started his hunt. He tried to eat as many as he could. But it was no use. Mealworms breed at a rapid pace, and the frog could simply not keep up. And at this state, the ecosystem was once again collapsing at an even more drastic rate than before. It was time to introduce a new predator to our rainforest once again. Meet the green anole. Our ecosystem is about to be introduced to 2 of these cold-blooded creatures. And as a result, everything should hopefully be fixed. So I added them in. And almost instantly, they sensed the worms. Now, they may look small, but these lizards are incredibly fast, allowing them to ambush any worm they laid their eyes on. The green anoles sat on a vine, waiting for an unlucky worm to stumble across them. And while they were waiting, one of them even turned brown to blend in with the stick that he was on. It didn't take long until their first unlucky victim stumbled in. And of course, the encounter didn't last long. The mealworm population finally started to fall one after one. Our lizard duo had successfully saved the ecosystem. And as day turned to night on day 23, I decided to let a few more crickets into the enclosure to show you just how quick these green anoles really are. Within seconds, the lizards noticed the insects, and their tiny little eyes locked onto their targets. The crickets had mere moments to be alive. All of a sudden, one of the lizards dashed into his prey through the darkness so fast that I didn't even catch him eating the cricket. The earthworms, frogs, springtails, and lizards were now thriving together to finish off our rainforest simulation. And on the final day, day 30, I woke up to something magical. Flowers had bloomed and luscious plants were everywhere. The rainforest was complete and our remaining animals could live happy together.
A new test tube. She had raised the start of a colony all by herself once, so she should be able to do it again. Let's reset the day counter and do this one more time. In this video, we'll be giving birth to an entire colony, and they're gonna be put to the test against my simulations of real world events. But currently, she's alone, and she needs to care for her eggs until they hatch into worker ants. And thankfully, it didn't take very long until just that happened. The first worker was born. You see, these are trapjaw ants, a species of ant that has these massive mandibles to cut their prey in half. But they're also absolutely massive compared to normal ants, and the workers are almost the same size as the queens. And in the world of ants, the workers have only one purpose: to serve the queen. Workers do almost everything for the queens, including cleaning her and even caring for the other eggs. But I want to make my colony grow extra fast, and you do that by feeding them food. And since it's so small with just 2 ants, let's just start with a single drop of honey. Hopefully they like it. So I slid the drop of honey into the tube for the ants to eat, and almost instantly the worker went up to investigate this unknown object. She smelled around it for a second, but then went back to the queen to report the findings. The worker is able to communicate with the queen by rubbing its antenna against hers. When they do this, it releases some pheromones signaling that it found some honey. And after the queen gave the go-ahead, the worker traveled back to the honey. But instead of eating it, the worker actually knocked the little plate over, and then the honey soaked into the sand over the next 10 minutes. Yeah, she didn't even try to eat it actually. You see, it turns out the ant did this for a reason. When a colony is this small, the queen will feed the workers by regurgitating its body tissues into their mouth. This means the colony already had enough food for now. I was gonna have to wait till more ants hatched, and there were now 4 workers a part of the colony, and their roles were becoming a lot more apparent. 2 of them would always stay by the queen to make sure she was safe, while the other 2 would watch after the eggs and guard the entrance. Now this is a colony that should accept my food offerings, and this time I'm not just gonna feed them a puny drop of honey. It's time for some live prey, baby. Everyone say hello to flightless fruit flies. Quite literally the most depressing animal in the world. Not only are they absolutely minuscule, but it's a fly that can't fly. Like, bro, you had one job and you can't do it. All right, it's a pretty simple process. So first of all, I got this tube with the flightless fruit fly inside of it. And basically, I'm just gonna go and put this up to the ant's tube and carefully remove the cotton ball, and there we go. The fly should now run in there. Hopefully this goes better than the honey. And yeah, basically the fly instantly ran into the ant's tube, so I blocked it up behind him. Now, because this fly is so small, for the first few seconds, it actually went unnoticed, hiding amongst the top of the enclosure, but it didn't take long until the first worker noticed. The ant opened up its jaws and snapped at the fly, but it missed. Quickly, the other workers started to notice, and soon enough, every ant had their eyes on the fly. And thankfully, about a minute later, one of the workers lined up a shot, and boom. Just like that, the fly is definitely not alive anymore. And the fly slowly got taken to the back of the tube to be stored as food for later. Now, with 3 more workers and 1 more about to hatch. And while this is great for my colony, as you can tell, the tube is getting extremely cramped. Some of the ants can't even walk around. So I'm gonna have to move these guys into a new home. Then instead is take out a brick, which I'm gonna turn into an ant nest. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Basically, I just started using a hammer and chisel to carve out this little nest design I drew on the brick. You see, ant colonies usually like to have multiple of these little tight crevice areas in their nest because it lets them store different things like eggs, food, and trash in each one. After I finished carving, I gave the whole thing a nice blue paint job, and finally I covered it with a clear acrylic
acrylic sheet. And the best part is this little hole I made right here, which I can go and squeeze water down into this sponge. And this will just make the humidity across the whole enclosure correct, because apparently ants like wetness. Using some tubing, I put one end of it onto the nest and the other end onto the tube. And almost instantly, one of the workers took an interest and decided to walk down the tube. It had no idea where it led, but it took the brave decision to explore. But as we know, it led straight to the new nest. The worker looked super excited and explored all around the new place. It was the perfect place for the colony to move to. So she traveled out of the nest and went straight up to the queen to report its findings. All right, now that the ants know about the new nest, in order for them to move in, I have to make this one super appealing so then they all want to come over. And I've got a couple things I'm gonna do, but first of all, I've got a tube of sugar water, which I'm just gonna go and plug into the side of the nest like that. And then I'm gonna replace this clear acrylic sheet for now with this little red acrylic sheet. You see, ants like their nest to be very dark inside. So I'm using this red acrylic because it blocks out pretty much all the light, but still lets me see inside a bit. Finally, I just pointed my bright studio light at the tube so they'd be more inclined to move. And it didn't take very long until a few different workers all went in to explore the new nest. Eventually, every ant knew about the new home. And while some grabbed the remaining eggs to move, others, like this worker, escorted the queen through the tube to the new nest. I decided to keep the red acrylic screen on while they're adjusting, and as you can see, they were definitely very active inside. The whole colony was now functioning even more smoothly, and it seemed like every ant was always busy doing something. They even found this tight little crevice to keep the queen and all the eggs inside of. And this is where it gets fun, because now that the ants have their own little nest, I can build them a bunch of different outworlds of different environments that they can go and hunt for food inside of. And as you can see, I've got the first little outworld right here. Let me build it. For this first outworld, I want to keep it simple by just laying down some orange sand across the whole enclosure. Then I put in some rocks and a little cactus, which was kind of hard to get planted in the sand. And even though I was wearing these gloves, it kept poking me, and yeah, it kind of hurts. Anyways, finally, the most important part is this stuff called fluon. Basically, it's a liquid that you dab onto a cotton ball and rub across the top of the enclosure. This stuff will basically just dry on the glass and make the top of the enclosure so slippery that ants cannot escape no matter what. After the desert enclosure was done, I connected a tube from it into the nest so the ants could go there. And soon enough, I saw a worker come out into the tube, and of course, she made her way over to the desert outworld and started to explore all around it. Now, the reason for why I built this outworld. I want to test the trapjaw mandibles to see if they can take down prey bigger than them. I'm gonna put a cricket in here. So without wasting any time, I dropped the cricket in, and it didn't take very long until the cricket came across paths with an ant. You see, trapjaw ants have these little hairs inside of their jaws to detect when prey is within striking distance. It lunged at the cricket and snapped its jaws, but it missed. The ant tried to attack the cricket a few more times, but all of the shots were missing. In fact, it was taking so long that the cricket made its way into the tube and crawled all the way into the nest with all the other ants. Now, it wasn't just about food. The colony needed to take down this cricket in order to make sure the queen didn't get hurt. While the cricket frantically ran around, almost all of the workers were taking their shots to try and cut off the cricket's leg or something. It was taking a long time, but eventually this worker here really put in some focus to line up her shots. And when she snapped, she perfectly got a hold of the cricket. She then picked it up and slammed it against the floor until it stopped moving. Yes, it's extremely brutal, but the colony had now successfully eliminated the threat and stored it away as food for later. Monitor the colony to ensure their eggs were all growing fine, and even fed them a bit more, and of course the queen. But I did actually notice over in the corner of the nest, one of the ants had curled up and had died. It's likely that this dead ant here was one of the founding workers, because sometimes those first ants only have the lifespan of a month or two. Anyways, despite the dead ant, the colony was actually still thriving. And because of that, I think this colony is now ready for an entire new outworld to be built. Because as you can see, they kind of just turned the desert into like a trash dumping ground. So I got out the enclosure and started to build it. For this enclosure, I'm literally making the floor out of just this fake grass material that is nice and bright and green. And for the decorations, I'm keeping it very simple with just these two little pieces of bark. And finally, I just hooked up some tubing so the ants could access the new place. I didn't want to rush them though, so I gave the colony a few days to on day 100 to just a single ant in the nest. I was really confused, but surely they were all just exploring the outworlds or something. So I checked the desert and nothing was there. Then I checked the grassy outworld. Still not a single ant. But then I found it. The tiniest gap under the red acrylic, barely visible, but it was just big enough for every ant to be able to escape through it overnight, except the one. And this wasn't just any ant inside of here, it was the queen. Queens don't just leave the nest unless other ants escort them. So she was here all alone on day 100, just like she was. If a black widow walked into a Venus flytrap, what would happen? Would the trap close on top of the spider and eat it whole? Or would the black widow be able to use its venom to squeeze its way out? Well, I'm gonna be testing just that, along with tons of other insect types to see how strong Venus flytraps really are. I think I'm gonna buy both of these trap bundles. Then I'll be able to test the cheap and expensive traps to see which will be more effective at catching insects. But hey, I guess let me just check them out. And thankfully, only a couple days later, I got the traps delivered in the mail. After taking them out, I separated them into cheap and expensive. You can see the cheap Venus flytraps actually gave me quite a lot for just $10. And the traps themselves did look pretty healthy, big, and had that signature green and red color. Nice. However, over on the expensive side, you can see these are a bit different. They're not even packaged at all, and they look way more natural with moss all around the dirt. However, the main difference in these ones is that they're basically fully red. Like, they literally look like an apple. I've never seen Venus flytraps like that. But other than that, these traps mostly look the same, and hopefully at least one of them will be able to I put 30 minutes on the clock. Let's see what happens. Now, for the first little while, the cricket spent most of its time just walking on the dirt along the side of the glass to, of course, try and find an escape. Because let's be real, every cricket that sees me on this channel knows it's about to get eaten. He did not want to be in here. But after 5 minutes, he made his first approach to the traps. And one thing I should probably say is that the crickets are way more attracted to nectar, as it's a primary part in their diet. And that was shown because soon after, the cricket started to climb on the outside of the jaws of this trap. And right after that, I actually realized the cricket had stepped inside one of the traps, and it sort of looked like it was drinking nectar. But hello, Venus flytrap, there's a cricket standing inside of you right now. Are you gonna close? Yeah, the cricket really just stood there for 30 seconds, and when it was finished drinking the nectar, it started to walk out, and then finally the trap closed. Good job, bro. You were only a minute late at closing. I guess the cricket must have just not hit a trigger hair inside until the very end, which is why that happened. Anyways, nothing really new happened up until 15 minutes left on the clock, when I decided I wanted to add in 3 more crickets to make this more interesting. And while these guys all ran around the enclosure, I closely watched them to see if any would step inside any of the traps. And at 5 minutes left, this happened. You see, this cricket started to walk up the stem of this trap. Then he walked inside, realized it was a dead end, and tried to turn around. But it was too late because the trap closed on him, leaving him half stuck inside. So I literally just got some time-lapse footage of this guy to see if he'd be able to escape. And actually, while I was recording that, another cricket below also stepped into one of the traps. And he also got half of his body stuck inside. Thankfully, this cricket was able to use some of the stuff around him to pry himself out of the trap. However, I don't know if this guy will be able to do the same, since he's in the air and has nothing to grab onto. So I guess I'll just leave you here. Sorry, boy. Good luck. But anyways, that concludes the timer, and I would call this a half success for the cheap plants this time. But oh boy, am I excited to do this with the expensive traps. I didn't want to waste any time, so I put in 1 cricket. And this time, the cricket instantly walked towards the traps, like within a couple seconds. And he started to just play with his life, because he would just be walking through the plants like this, narrowly escaping the insane speed of these expensive Venus flytraps. Now, only a few minutes later, the cricket once again walked into a Venus flytrap. This time, he managed to dodge all the trigger hairs, and he put his mouth up to the lip of the plant to drink some nectar. But yeah, the second he started moving again, he wasn't so lucky, because the trap got an absolutely perfect close on him. And well, it only took 7 minutes for the expensive traps to fully capture a cricket. So once again, I'm gonna have to give the win to expensive. And I think I'm gonna rate that a 6 out of 10 for entertainment, because way more traps closed, which was fun to watch. But $10 traps first. Without wasting any time, I just put in a single fly and put 30 minutes on the clock. And if it gets caught before the timer's up, I'll add in some more flies. But instantly, as you can see, the fly started to climb along the glass to try and escape. Thankfully though, I've sealed this enclosure shut, and once the fly realized that, he ended up going back down to the floor. Now this is where things get interesting, because the fly landed on one of the pots with all of the Venus flytrap plants. What makes Venus flytraps so effective is actually their nectar. Just like normal flowers, these traps also produce nectar around this little green lip part of the plant. And basically what it's designed to do is lure hungry insects in, and while they're eating the plant, of course, it shuts. But I guess because these plants are so cheap, they didn't have very much of that nectar, because after standing around for like a minute, the fly just flew away without even stepping in any of the jaws. And from there on out, the fly basically drained the 30-minute timer down all the way to 3 minutes by just standing on the glass. However, eventually he decided to explore near the cheap Venus flytraps once again. And this time he got a little bit too close, because he stepped onto one of the traps and it could literally close on him right now. But the trap took a second too long, and the fly was able to fly out once it sensed the movement. You see, Venus flytraps have a very interesting system for how they detect prey and activate their jaws, which I'll go more in depth with when the trap actually traps an insect. For now, the fly just sort of walked around on the dirt for the rest of the timer, and well, the cheap trap was a fail. Thankfully, over on the right, we got the expensive one though, worth 10 times more, and this should have a much better result. So I put in a new fly, and let's get the timer started to see how quickly this guy gets caught. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this fly was a bit crazier than that first one, because for the first 3 minutes. He literally just flew around the entire enclosure like he was insane, just hitting all the glass trying to escape. But after he tired himself out, it was time for the Venus flytraps to do their thing. Instantly, you can tell the fly was way more drawn to the traps, as these expensive ones have a much stronger, more smelly nectar. And that was proven because right after, the fly walked in one of the traps. But quickly, it walked out right as the trap closed. Yeah, you can see in this instant replay, the trap may have missed the fly, but comparing the cheap and expensive traps, the expensive one closes way faster. And only a minute later, the fly was still chilling near the traps. And this time, the nectar caught him off guard, because he walked onto the trap and put his face straight up to the lip of the plant where it was. And well, yeah, the video is paused right now, but you could probably tell what's about to happen. Just like that, the trap got a perfect close on the fly. You see, every single Venus flytrap has these super tiny trigger hairs inside of the jaws. And when a bug or something touches more than 2 of them, the trap starts to close. And these expensive ones are able to close so quickly that they catch most of prey that steps inside. You can see slight bits of movement inside over the next 20 minutes, but over the next few days, the trap is going to release a type of acid on the fly to digest it down and grow even stronger. Well, it only took 5 minutes for that to trap the fly, and the cheap one didn't catch any.
Died laying around. I'm pretty scared of black widows.
Anyways, I went and put one of the black widows inside the cheap trap enclosure and got 30 minutes on the clock. This is about to get interesting. Let's see what happens. Right away, the black widow made her way towards the traps. Now, black widows are a lot slower than crickets and flies, so if this spider steps inside a trap, there's a high likelihood of it getting caught. And while nothing really happened for the first couple of minutes, eventually the spider started to walk along the tops of some of the traps. You can see black widows are very meticulous with their movement, and it would very carefully place its legs above the trap, making sure not to step inside. But even with that, the spider was playing a dangerous game, because all it needed was one bad step. Anyways, about 15 minutes later, I noticed that the spider had actually started to spin a little bit of silk, and maybe it was planning on building its web here. But unfortunately, she would never get the chance to finish, because she took a wrong turn into the Venus flytrap, and well, it closed straight on her. Almost perfectly. However, there was still some legs sticking out. To be honest, it didn't look good for the black widow, and besides a few leg twitches, it looked like the spider had just lost to the Venus flytrap. And if you thought that was cool, well, you gotta see the expensive Venus flytraps, because right after putting the black widow in, he instantly walked up to a Venus flytrap. And literally within the first 30 seconds of the timer, he stepped inside one of the traps, ducked down a little bit too much, and the trap closed on him within an instant. In my opinion, this one was even cooler to watch, and yeah, his legs were also just stuck sticking out of the sides of the trap. And well, hopefully that answers the question. Venus flytraps do beat black widows. This is a toe biter. Yeah, might sound funny, but these little bugs live in lakes and spend all day eating everything they lay their eyes on. And to humans, they're known for injecting venom into toes, causing extreme amounts of pain. So I found this website that will sell me some to keep as pets. Yep, I'm gonna build them a home in this fish tank. Let's buy 2 of these. Let's see how this goes. And you already know, the delivery drivers worked overtime to get these to me as soon as possible. So I cut it open so I could get out the containers. Supposedly the bugs were inside. All right, let's see these. Oh shoot, no, this thing's massive. Since it was kind of hard to get a good look at them in these containers, I got out this temporary tank and put them in. I was very careful because supposedly these guys have wings, meaning they could just fly out to my toes and start biting them if I wasn't careful. Anyways, now we can really see how absolutely vicious these guys are with their insanely sharp pincher forceps that they actually use to latch onto prey in the wild. Then, using a little sharp mouthpiece they have, they inject a special type of venom into prey that turns the inside of their body into liquid that they then proceed to slurp up like a smoothie. Yeah, I really hope these guys don't escape while making this video. But anyways, let's just build them a home and keep them as pets. This can't go well, but the first step is to make the background of their home. To make this look good, I wanted to put this black board along the back. That way the tank would have more of this dark feel that matches how creepy the toe biters are. Then I got out some spray foam. Yep, wouldn't be a TerraGreen video without it. But this time I used the foam to connect all these pieces of cork bark along the back to add some sort of natural feel to it. I even went and covered all the excess spray foam with some dirt so it wouldn't be as ugly. But the coolest thing is, as you can see, is I actually hid some of these plant pots along the top. Basically, it's gonna allow me to plant some beautiful plants in here, and it's gonna be super luscious by the end of the video, probably. But to really complete this backdrop, we need to add these. These are called sticks. Yep, and we're gonna put these along the back wall. If you didn't know, sticks are really cool because they grow from trees, and they're actually made of wood. I'm just kidding, guys. I know you guys all know what sticks are. I don't know why I'm explaining this. Anyways, yeah, I put so many of of these sticks along the back because I really wanted to make this place look like some underwater mangrove swamp with so many roots everywhere.
I'm already loving how this is coming together, and we're not even on step 2, which is actually to make the floor and decorations.
For this build, I just wanted to use this simple gravel material for the floor. But along with it, I've also got this, which I've never actually used before. It's a little underground cave that goes up against the glass. Basically, after we go and fill up the rest of this floor with gravel, you can see this cave stays as an open area that stuff can go inside. And maybe our toe biters will come and chill in here, or maybe some of the prey we add will come and hide in here. For as long as they can, of course.
Now, you're probably wondering why I didn't add any of this aqua soil like I usually do. And well, that's because I'm not going to put any sort of plants in here this time.
Instead, I want it to look like some abandoned swampy area with super murky water. And we do that by putting a ton of natural materials around, like this big driftwood piece coming out the middle, and then a bunch of smaller stuff, like these dead leaves, some mini pine cones, and little sticks.
But most importantly, I've got some beta miracle leaves. Oh yeah, I don't know why they're called miracle leaves, but hopefully they spread some sort of miracle around the tank. Something like that, surely.
But actually, I kind of do know why these are called miracle leaves. Because if I go and fill up this floor area with just a bit of water, you can see over the span of about an hour, it starts to turn into this brown, murky color. That's because those leaves and all the other natural stuff I added inside is spreading around tannins in the water, which turns it this color. And it's actually super healthy for any fish or bugs that would live in here. Dang, the more you know. Anyways, I drained that while I continued on with the build by putting in a few lava rocks and covering them in a bit of the sphagnum moss, which I also put all over the background of the enclosure.
Finally, the most important decoration is some little mini plastic boots. Yeah, because we all know at the bottom of every lake and stuff, they just got like boots and stuff. At least that's what all the fishing games I've played have told me. Yeah, I got some pretty cool decorations, as you can see. I'm just gonna put that there.
Now for my favorite part of each of these weird pet videos, the DIY decorations. And for the first one, let's make some pictures. Yup, I literally went out and bought these mini dollhouse picture frames. I'm just gonna scatter all around the enclosure with funny pictures of toe biters.
And to make some funny pictures, I gotta do some photoshopping. I'm a Photoshop master, so this should go pretty well.
First of all, I used my expert skills to make a picture of a toe biter eating one of its favorite foods ever, a frog. Yes, they actually eat frogs in the wild. Then I made this picture of a toe biter flying in the air with beautiful angel wings. Because yeah, like I said, they can actually fly with their actual wings, but they don't look as majestical as these angel wings, of course. Finally, I found this picture of what it looks like when a toe biter lays eggs. Yeah, apparently they literally keep them on their back until they hatch. So I put a bunch of baby toe biters all around this mom toe biter.
Then we just gotta go and print out these fantastical pictures. And yes, I finally got a printer at my house, so I don't gotta go to the store no more. And wait, no, what the heck is this, bruh? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I forgot you gotta buy color for the ink. Okay, I guess I gotta go to the store anyways. Please do that, by the way.
Yeah, so I drove to the printing store to get the photos instead. Anyways, when I got home, I cut out all the little images and put them inside their frames. As you can see, I obviously have the ones I photoshopped, but I also found this picture of all the toe biters' favorite foods, like insects and fish, so they can daydream about them all day. And I also found this picture on Google of some crazy person who willingly let this thing bite him. Why the heck would you do that, bro? I don't know, I just thought I had to put this in. Anyways, for the next DIY build, I'm gonna make some signs. Yep, I literally went out and bought all these random pieces of wood so I could burn some cool patterns on them with my super hot wood burning pen. With the first sign, I made it say, beware of the biter. And I even put a little bit of eye emojis at the bottom. You know, I just thought those looked cool. And then on the second sign, I made it said, rest in peace to all the insects and fish that enter this tank. Because as you know, toe biters do not take kindly to those kind of things.
And I could just go and put these inside of the tank. I kind of want them to look like signs. So I got these sticks that I use for the background, which I'm gonna go and hot glue to the back of them.
Once they dried, I stuck the two signs in the floor and got out the final sign that I was gonna make a pattern on. This time, I stuck these little wooden letters onto the sign to write toe biters. Then I completely burned all the letters black so they stood out.
All right, let's just hang that right there. And oh, that's actually fire. Hold on, wait, that's actually on fire. Oh, no, I'm just kidding, guys. It's just some editing. Yeah, don't worry, but it is actually fire. That's pretty cool.
And now the build only needs one more thing. Some plants to put in those pots that I had at the top of the enclosure. So I drove to Walmart to buy them.
Oh yeah, I haven't been to Walmart in so long. I already know they're gonna have some fire plants. Bro, what is this? Wait, this is the entire plant section?
Yeah, I don't know what my Walmart is doing, because why the heck is there only like 5 plants here? None of these plants are even the right type, and they would all die in the water. Come on, Walmart. Hashtag bring back the plants. Everyone comment that. We actually gotta bring bring back these plants. Anyways, I went home and instead just got out these terrarium plants that I had sitting in my garage. Listen, guys, I tried to go to Walmart. I know you guys get mad at me whenever I don't, but hopefully this is good enough for you guys. And anyways, once the plants were inside, I filled it up with water, and as you can see, it turned super brown from all the tannins, of course, which is perfect. That's exactly how I wanted it. And yep, this is now 100% complete. We don't need a filter or anything because toe biters are extremely resilient to water. So the next thing is to literally just get these guys inside. Okay, I gotta be extremely cautious with this. I have no idea how I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna, okay, 3, 2, 1, quickly pick it up. Oh, they both fell off. No. Okay, they're swimming around. I'm gonna put this back on top so they don't fly out. So I instead went with a different approach and moved the cork bark to the new tank and instead used this net to try and transport the toe biters without them flying away. Okay, move. Okay. Thankfully, it was a little bit more successful, so I did the same with the other toe biter, and you can see they both just swam straight down to grab onto something, and they stayed completely still. But they do this for a purpose. You see, toe biters have evolved to have the exact same pattern and shape as a dead leaf, and they stay completely still till some prey swims by them. Then they pounce on it. So you already know, let's test the 3 food sources with these guys. You see, insects are great and all, but in order for my toe biters to be healthy and thriving, they need to eat fish, because that's what they eat in the wild mostly. And thankfully online, there's tons of websites that sell feeder fish just for this purpose. So I bought 2 of them so we can get our pet toe biters their proper nutritions. The next day, they got delivered, so I got them ready to feed. All right, let's do this. And I even got my GoPro so I can get some nice underwater shots of these toe biters eating. Let's dump one of these fish inside. The fish that I had put inside immediately started swimming around. But little did he know that this was the home of my pet toe biters, which were secretly sitting right next to him, watching his every move. And only a couple minutes later, he got a little too curious and started swimming near the toe biter. The toe biter was preparing to strike, but he had to wait for the perfect opportunity in order to not scare the fish away. And when the moment was right, he pounced off the rocks and missed and scared it away. Bruh, come on, I thought you were a master hunter. So instead, 5 minutes later, I decided to just help him out by feeding him with some tweezers. There you go, boy. Hope you enjoy. And yeah, this seemed like it was probably his favorite food, and he would not let go. Mealworms are one of the most common foods for the kind of pets I keep, so I had a feeling these guys would definitely enjoy them. First of all, I dumped one in the water with some tweezers and waved around in front of this guy. And instantly, he dashed off of his rock towards it, and it actually scared me a bit, but he didn't even actually end up attacking the mealworm. So when he found a new spot to go and rest, I did the same exact thing. And this time, he struck at it, and he scared me so much, I actually dropped the tweezers with the worm. I don't know why this scared me. I'm literally using tweezers, but yeah. Anyways, on the 3rd attempt, this is what happens. He went and grabbed the mealworm with his claws, and he actually got a good grip with it. Then he brought out his sharp mouthpiece and started finding a good spot to poke into the worm with. Eventually, he made the bite, and as I said earlier, they inject a special digestive enzyme into their prey that turns the inside of them into a liquid that they then proceed to slurp up like a smoothie. And yeah, this must have been a tasty, tasty smoothie. I think there's roaches in here. Oh yeah, right there. You see them. I wanted to make this one quick, so instantly I put one of these roaches in front of the second toe biter, and almost immediately he pounced onto my tweezers totally, and he just like would not let go. I think he didn't even see the roach, so I just knocked him off the tweezers and tried again. This time he actually grabbed the roach, but he also grabbed onto my tweezers again and straight up just would not let go. So I kind of just set the tweezers down while he ate the roach, and you can see this guy was also absolutely slurping this up and probably enjoying it a lot. I just got this in my car, and we got to take this home to see if the axolotl inside is going to be able to survive. And I really hope it's okay, because if it is, I'm going to completely revamp this home into a dream home paradise so we can give this axolotl his best life. Quickly, I went home and set up a filter in the water so I would be able to see inside. But after letting it run for 30 minutes, the water literally did not clear up at all. Okay, I have no time to waste, so I'm just going to try and dig around and scoop it out with this net, even though I can't see anything. So I started to take each decoration out one by one, and it didn't take long until I saw this little thing at the bottom of the net. I had found the axolotl, and thankfully it was still in good health. So I quickly moved it out into a temporary tank and was super surprised by what I saw. Guys, this is not a normal axolotl. This is actually a super rare axolotl. It has the golden trait, and it also looks like it's albino and a baby. To put in perspective how rare this is, this whole tank was like $5, as you know. I could probably sell this right now as it is for over $100. And little did I know, this axolotl was even rarer better than I thought. It actually had a special gene that made it be able to glow in the dark and more. Yeah, this video is insane. Anyways,
Pretty much every decoration's a fake plastic one. The substrate is absolutely nasty, and just the whole thing has no structure to it. It's just plain ugly.
so I took out all the trash decorations and threw them in the garbage where they belong. Then I emptied out all the sand, since I'm pretty sure that's what was causing the water to be so brown.
And finally, what the heck is this, bro? Why did the seller's uncle just tape a picture of bamboo on the wall? It doesn't fit, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, axolotls don't live with bamboo. Yeah, that is so dumb. Let's rip this trash off of there.
Anyways, now that we're back to the bare bones of this tank, the first step is to build the lake bed base. To build that, we start by just putting a ton of sand in here and piling it up in a mound in the middle of the tank because I have a cool idea for this. You see, axolotls live at the bottom of lakes in the wild, so to build that in here, I stuck some wooden branches in the sand and surrounded them in a ton of river rocks. Which, if you're wondering the names of them, this type is called a Tahaiji stone, and this one is called a Seiryu stone. Yeah, I don't know who names these, but I would just call them smooth stone and rough stone. Those are better names. Anyways, while I planted them around, and I made it look absolutely beautiful, I put the taller plants near the back of the mound and the smaller plants up near the front, since it adds some nice depth in here, or something like that. All right, it's starting to look pretty good, but to complete the sides, this is where we're going to put the custom DIY builds. And you see, in the wild, axolotls like to hide in little rock caves because that's where they feel safe from predators. So I'm gonna build a custom little cave on the right side, and to start that, I found this basket in my house.
Oh, this is gonna work perfectly. Let's just get that out of there.
With this, I started by getting out a heavy-duty saw and cutting a hole in it that would serve as the entrance to the cave, and then I quickly sanded down the rough edges and used my hot glue gun to start gluing these little thin gray rocks all around it to obviously give it that cave look. And after I was done gluing all those on, it actually looked pretty solid. But as you can see, some of the hot glue I used to connect it was still exposed, so I quickly covered that in some pebbles. Once I was done, I put the enclosure in, and it didn't really fit. So I took it out and rearranged some of the rocks and put it back in, and boom, perfect fit.
There we go. I think that cave looks pretty good in the grand scheme of things, and yeah, it is a pretty small entrance to get inside, but obviously the rare axolotl is still a baby, so it should be able to fit in there just fine.
Anyways, I finished it off by putting some plants right out in front and a couple big rocks on top to make it look more cavey. There we go. Everything's starting to come together well, but now it's time to design the left side.
And if you guys remember, that first version of the tank had this big ugly like bamboo wallpaper along the back, but anyways, this did actually get me kind of inspired, and for the left side, I want to make it just like bamboo themed, you know. We got to keep a little bit of the original because I guess it wouldn't really be transforming if we didn't. So let's get that done.
For the first decoration, I of course got out some brown sticks of bamboo, so it'd be bamboo-y, you know. And on each stick of bamboo, I started to drill little holes. You see, axolotls like to have resting spots near the top of their enclosures. That way they can easily swim up and gulp air from the surface. So to build something like that, I got out some string and started to thread all the bamboo together. I kind of felt like a grandma doing this, you know, sewing away with a needle. Yeah, it was pretty fun though. Anyways, I hot glued the ends of the string so they wouldn't move, and boom, check this out. A bamboo hammock that the axolotl can rest on. In order to get it attached to the top of the enclosure, I once again used some hot glue to put on some little suction cups, and in no time it was complete.
All right, there we go. Check the hammock out. I'm sure the axolotl's gonna like to lay on this, and yeah, to complete this left side, we're gonna add a little more bamboo decoration. And so in the sand, I want to put some live actual bamboo. It's curly for some reason, not really know why, but I'm gonna plant this in the sand.
So I put each of the bamboos there under the hammock and covered it in a mound of sand.
But I'm not done yet. I've been saving the coolest addition for last. And this next thing is gonna take this from a normal aquarium to, well, if I'm being honest, it's probably still gonna be kind of normal, but it's gonna be cooler looking.
Now to build this thing, I first got out some giant plastic boards and glued them together to make one giant board. Then I covered it all with some black felt.
Now you're probably wondering why I built this giant black platform, but basically the reason is because I can go and put it right behind the tank just like this. And then now what I'm gonna do is use these things called plant pockets, glue them to the back of that, and basically what this allows me to do is, you know, put plants in them, and we're gonna have some overhanging plants in here.
But first I needed to go get the plants.
Like, dang, that's actually a good deal. It's definitely cheaper than those aquatic plants. We don't talk about those though.
When I got home, I got out the plants and put them all inside their little pockets.
And dang, check this whole thing out. It actually looks all right. Just don't go around and look at the back. Yeah, it's kind of curving, but honestly, it kind of gives a cool effect. And, you know, it makes the plant leaves drip over the top.
Anyways, now to complete the build, I just got to do some finishing touches. And what that means is I first filled it up with some cycled water and attached a filter on it.
Okay, I've never used one of these filters before, but apparently it's pretty cool.
I just got to go and plug it in down here.
And dang, check this out. Look, it's like a waterfall. It makes a bunch of these little water streams. But I guess when I want it to be quiet, I can just go like that, and there we go. Can't really hear it anymore.
Now I saved the best thing for last, this little gift present.
Okay, this is actually cool what's inside. Basically, it's this little glass crystal ball with a hologram of an axolotl inside. There we go. So what you do is you put it on this little platform, and basically it just kind of glows there and changes colors.
Anyways, this is now completely transformed, and it's time to not only add in the golden axolotl to his new home, but show off exactly what axolotls do during their days and show off how it can literally glow in the dark.
So I just want to shine this in here and see if my axolotl actually has that glow in the dark ability. I actually have no idea if this is gonna work. Wait. Oh, okay, wait. I actually did not expect that to work. Oh, look at the axolotl. He's just glowing in the dark. Yeah, I don't really know what I expected, but it's actually pretty cool. So for whatever reason, if I can't find the axolotl, I just turn off the lights, click this button, and boom, you're found, buddy. You're never gonna be able to hide from me ever again. I want to test just some normal fish food. Yeah, I don't know if he's actually gonna eat it. It's fish food, it's not axolotl food, but let's try it out.
So I dropped them in and let them sit for a little while, but yeah, he didn't really eat them, and he didn't even come out to take a look at them.
And his new enclosure, he's gonna love it.
So I scooped it up out of its temporary enclosure, and bada bing, bada boom, welcome to your new home. Right away, he started to explore around his new tank and eventually made his way into the cave I built for him.
Okay, so the axolotl's in the cave right now, so this is the perfect time to test out some foods.
Bloodworms.
But these are frozen bloodworms, so to make them, you know, not frozen anymore, just kind of plop the packet in a little cup of water like that. And we can go and just take this big chunk and put it in right next to the axolotl.
And it didn't take long until he noticed it and instantly took a snap at it, eating the whole pile up.
And oh my gosh, he just ate that whole thing. Oh, dang.
Night crawlers.
Which are just worms, basically. But they're giant worms compared to those tiny little blood worms. Okay, here we go. We got a nice little tiny piece of worm, and we're just gonna drop it in right next to the axolotl.
And after wiggling it around in front of him, he picked up the scent, and as you can expect, yep, he started going crazy, eating this worm up too.
He's absolutely just devouring this, just shaking it up. He's not letting this thing get away. That's a good axolotl. Oh my gosh, this guy's so cool. We actually got this guy for $5. I can't believe that.
Anyways, I've gathered the craziest animal videos on the internet. Here they are. For our first crazy video, these guys were exploring a beach cave when this happened. Yeah, they got absolutely pummeled by a bajillion flies. Like, bro, what do you even do in that situation? You probably accidentally breathe in so many of those flies. Hey, I guess it's a little bit of extra protein. Okay, you are about to see a bear go above and beyond for a meal, because apparently there's a little worm bug thing in the soil under this tree, and when the bear saw it, he walked up to the tree and he did this. Yeah, bro literally started to knock down the tree until he literally did knock down the tree. And then he proceeded to dig through the rubble for this meal. Good job, bro. Hopefully that was worth the effort for the worm. Nice. Okay, someone has to explain this video in the comments to me because it makes no sense. Obviously, you can see a bird in front of an iPad, but then this bird starts to use the iPad like a human can. And it starts swiping through the pictures, not randomly or anything. Like, actually, this bird knows what it's doing on the iPad. And eventually, he gets to a picture of a sandwich and literally zooms in on it. And he starts doing a happy dance because apparently he loves sandwiches. What? I genuinely think this bird might be smarter than me. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, I know the quality on this video is so trash, but it's literally because it's just so insane. Because if you look closely, this is a bee and this is a nail. And this bee is pulling the nail out of the wall. Yeah, and that's like the whole video. Like, is that not insane how a bee is pulling a nail out of the wall? This is either the strongest bee ever, or this is the weakest nail ever. Anyways, yeah, he pulled it out so you could go inside the hole. It's actually very smart. Okay, I feel like something could go terribly wrong in this video, because if you can't already tell, this is a real bear just sitting casually on a motorcycle with some humans. Yeah, but the craziest thing is, this bear starts to blow a horn. Nah, they trained this bear to be the car horn. Yeah, but I'm not sure why everyone here is just acting so casually. I mean, I guess this is Russia. I don't know if this is just a normal everyday thing there, but yeah, pretty crazy. Okay, so this may just look like a fun home video of people who found a dancing bug.
I think we should get music to go to it.
But oh, this is not a friendly bug. It's a toe biter, and trust me, I've made a video on getting these guys as a pet, and I know they are not friendly. So that's why I wasn't surprised when this happened. Okay, bro, I just thought that scream was too funny to not show. Let's see that one more time. This might be the most evil pet owner ever, because look at this.
Rocks, paper, scissors.
He taught his bird to say rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and then he put him in front of a mirror to infinitely play rock, paper, scissors with himself. So yeah, this bird is in a never-ending game of rock, paper, scissors. Is anyone gonna tell him he's playing against himself? Okay, I'm not sure what's up with bears acting like humans in this video, because this security camera caught a bear that walked up to this family's car, and for some reason it got up on its hind legs like a human, and using its arms, it just opened the car door casually, and started rummaging through the car. I have no clue how it just knew to open the door like that, but yeah, apparently it just ate all the food inside, and then just walked away. Animals are getting too smart. Now, I found some pretty cool videos of shark cage encounters like this one, where the shark very angrily slams into the cage with its mouth open. To be honest, I don't know why people willingly go inside these cages. It looks pretty scary. But if you didn't know, the clips just get crazier and crazier as the video goes on. So obviously in this next clip, the shark that attacked the cage was even more aggressive. The shark grabbed onto the cage sideways and literally would not let go. Everyone was screaming inside, but don't worry, I think they're all safe because they were also laughing. Yeah, like I said, I don't think I would go inside of one of these cages willingly. Okay, take a listen to what this guy has to say real quick.
We've got our friendly neighborhood spider who's chilling over here, and the cockroach.
Yeah, I thought this video was so crazy because it shows why Australians actually love keeping these giant spiders in their house. Because in it, he catches a cockroach from the shower to demonstrate how good these spiders are at hunting. Yep, within like half a second, the spider pounced onto the cockroach and started to devour it. So basically, having these things in your house is like a built-in pest control. As long as you're fine with seeing giant spiders every now and then, which I definitely would not be okay with. Now you might be wondering, why on earth is a snake slithering on a power line? Well, apparently this snake saw some birds up on this power line, so somehow he got up onto here and is now absolutely risking his life to get a meal. I mean, I know some snakes are good climbers, but this has got to be extra risky considering there's no extra tree branches for him to grab onto if he falls. And yeah, I'm not sure what the snake was expecting because birds do actually have wings. Every time the snake got close, the birds kind of just flew away. Yeah, well, good luck getting down, bro, because I have no clue how you even got up here. Okay, and earlier I showed shark encounters from inside cages, but now we got shark encounters outside a cage, and this is where things could go seriously wrong. But thankfully, these were trained professionals under the water, so when the sharks started to show signs of aggression, they knew exactly what to do. You see, the sharks kept advancing towards the divers, and they had to actually keep pushing them away with their hands. And eventually, this shark went up to this diver and actually started to take bites at him. The diver quickly tried to use all of his strength to push back the shark, and thankfully after a bit, the shark actually did back off. Dang, that was a close call, but thankfully the diver stayed calm and did everything. I'll just let this guy explain this next clip.
Hey, y'all want to see the coolest bottle opener in the world?
Yeah, so basically this dude is holding a mouse in one hand and a glass bottle in the other. He then goes and puts the mouse on top of the bottle, holds the bottle up, and nature does its thing.
Break time!
Like, what the heck is going on? This is genuinely pure chaos. Whistles, screaming, car horns, and a billion bugs. Nah, bro, never put me in this situation. Okay, this video basically shows an orangutan from a zoo interacting with a dog. And you won't believe how locked in this dog gets at the orangutan. Because for some reason, the orangutan starts to try and annoy the dog by banging on the glass, which gets the dog so mad. Yeah, this dude looks like he wants blood. mud. And the best part is when the orangutan starts to put a stick through the hole in the glass to tease the dog, but the dog doesn't even budge at this point because he's had enough of this monkey's rage bait. What an interesting interaction. I would be so mad because you can see he puts his GoPro camera up to this octopus to try and get some cool footage. But if we switch to the GoPro's view, we can see things quickly started to go wrong because the octopus started to climb out of its hole and actually put one of his tentacles onto the camera. But he didn't stop there because he then completely climbed onto the GoPro so the diver couldn't record anything anymore. Dang, I guess this octopus was camera shy. But thankfully the diver had a backup camera so we could see the struggle he went through to get this octopus off. Yeah, it took about like 2 minutes, but eventually he was successful and the octopus swam back off to the sea floor. And it's cool because you can see the octopus change its color as it swam away to camouflage. This video just shows another casual day in Australia.
So the owners had come in to have their morning shower and found the snake curled up.
So yeah, I guess living in Australia means you're okay sharing your house with insane animals like massive snakes. But I kind of feel like this snake was just trying to get clean and take a shower. Like, bro, why are you removing him from the shower? And then even worse, they kidnapped him into this big dark bag. Wow. That is just, that's evil. Now, this one's actually pretty crazy. You see, this dude is an ultra hummingbird enthusiast, but usually hummingbirds are impossible to get close to. So he built this super cool contraption, which he fills with nectar, straps to his head, and then the birds will fly extremely close to his face to drink it. And as long as he doesn't move at all, this just lets him watch and study his favorite birds for hours. Now, this is actually pretty wholesome. Everyone drop W's in the comments for the red hat. Okay, so we all know the story of the tortoise versus the hare. Well, some people actually recreated that in real life. Yeah, might sound stupid because you would just expect the hare to obviously win, but similar to the actual story, halfway through the hare stopped to take a break because he was so far in the lead, but the tortoise was still going with all of his might and overtook the hare and eventually made it to the finish line to win the race. Dang, who knew slow and steady actually really does win the race? Next clip documents something not many people have successfully been able to record, but basically it shows a caterpillar being born. Oh, but not only that, because it also shows that same caterpillar when it went into its chrysalis stage. And yeah, I just think it's insanely crazy to see the caterpillar crawl out of its old skin and eventually turn from this green shell into a fully grown butterfly, which then eventually is able to crawl out from the chrysalis and is able to restart the life cycle itself. This will probably be the most monkeys you ever see in one video. I'm not sure where this was recorded or why there's so many monkeys just running in the street, but yeah, there is. So the crazy part of this video is when fireworks randomly went off and of course spooked all the monkeys, causing them to go bananas. Yeah, there is a genuine stampede of monkeys. Are these guys just gonna live in the city now or what? I don't really know. Okay, if I was this diver, okay, this bird is about to sing a song and I want you guys to guess what song he's singing. Yeah, he's singing the If You're Happy and You Know It song. And the craziest part is when he taps the beak on the table at the part where you're supposed to clap your hands. Like, how do you even teach your bird to do that? I'm in awe with how smart some of these birds are. This video shows the most insane alien-looking creature on Earth. Yeah, this isn't fake. It's actually a super rare type of moth. But what makes this video even more crazy is usually these moths look like this, without those black hairy things coming out the back. But on special occasions, the males will inflate those things coming out of their body to look like this insane Goliath alien-looking creature. So yeah, this is super rare, and I hope I never see this. This is 1,000 termites, and in this video, I'll be testing everything interesting about termites, even putting them against a mini wood house to see if they'll eat straight through it.
Yeah, I got the house right here, so let me just, and boom, just like that, the house teleports inside. There's totally no editing involved in that. That was just magic.
Now, I first drilled a hole into the top of this house that I'd eventually be able to record through. Then I also added a bit of dirt around and inside of the house so the termites would want to stay here. And finally, termites need constant moisture to survive. So I'm just gonna absolutely drench this house with my spray bottle. Hopefully this will make it easier to chew through.
All right, termites, I hope you're still hungry. Yeah, I guess let me just try and take this sheet of termites and just start dumping them in the house. And then there's still tons in here, so I'm just gonna go and dump them inside and kind of just all around the house. Let's get this thing absolutely destroyed. destroyed. Well, hopefully. I don't actually know if they're gonna eat it, but that's the plan.
Now, it's pretty cool to see the sheer amount of termites just swarming every single inch of this house. And you could even see them inside a little bit, but I couldn't see that much since it was kind of dark. So I, of course, set up the time-lapse camera and recorded for many hours. And you can see there was tons of termites that were just walking around the perimeter of the tank investigating what was going on, while others were still swarming around the dirt of the house and also climbing all up inside the hole that I drilled on the top of the roof. But there was no destruction really visible just yet.
Okay, it's been about 24 hours and it almost seems like the termites are doing nothing to this house. But you see, the thing that makes termites so deadly to houses is the fact that they completely work out of sight. So let's do a little more investigating on this thing.
So I pointed my super bright studio light through that hole I put in the top, and you could see the termites were in here, but yeah, it was still not super visible inside of here. So I went and pointed the camera through that hole in the roof, and I was even more amazed by the amount of termites all huddling around the wooden walls. You can even see how some of them would rapidly shake their heads. Apparently they do this to signal to the rest of the colony that danger's nearby, but yeah, you can see the walls were starting to look like they were maybe getting a little bit destroyed so far.
Yo, the termites are absolutely swarming inside of there. Hold on, wait, I wonder if they're under. Oh my gosh. That's more than I was expecting. Oh my gosh, there's even more on the underside of that.
Yeah, tons were gathering right here, as you can see. I wasn't really sure if these ones were actually eating the wood or if they were here for just cover. Either way, I kept recording my time-lapse camera, and while nothing really interesting happened on the outside, as you could probably guess, when I moved the time-lapse camera inside to start to record, you could see how there was so much more action and how they were climbing all over this wall. Surely they were eating it, but if you didn't know, termites are some of the slowest eaters in the animal kingdom, and even with over 1,000, in this 10-hour time lapse, you can't really see a whole lot of damage being made, but you can see some of these termites were making this cool little mud ball out of dirt, saliva, and wood that they spit out. They sometimes will make these little balls in their nest to keep moisture, since, as I said earlier, they need moisture to survive.
Yeah, at this pace, it would take months for the termites to start making noticeable progress through the wood.
Termites, I'm gonna be testing your intelligence, and if you actually make it to the end of the maze, I'll reward you with the house.
To make this termite maze, I got out an empty fish tank and I started to cut these lines of plastic to make the shape of a maze. After going and gluing them down, I completely filled the floor up with another thin layer of dirt. If you remember, the termites dug through that first nest I made for them in a cool pattern, so I'm wondering if they're gonna do the same here and if they're gonna take any wrong turns that lead them to a dead end.
Alright, then let me go and just put this perfectly sized piece of glass here, and then let me put a piece of bark and cardboard at the end so they'll actually have a goal to get to. Well, let me gather up these termites and I'll move them in here.
And yeah, it was actually quite a bit harder than I thought to move these termites out because how incredibly small they are. So I sort of just resorted to digging up all the dirt I could that the termites were hiding under. I even found that worm that I'd placed in earlier, which is still just living peacefully inside. But yeah, eventually I got all the termites into this little container with dirt.
All right, now I just gotta dump these in here so they can start the maze. Also, what's kind of cool is if you look at the underside of this, all the termites have just started to gather there. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, anyways, I went and started to scoop the dirt into the maze enclosure pretty carefully in order to not hurt the termites. You can see this whole pile of dirt was just absolutely overflowing with tons of termites. But basically, you remember how the termites were just gathering on the bottom of the little container they were just in? The plan here is they're gonna do the same thing and they'll slowly make their way into the maze. Hopefully. Yeah, I don't actually know if this is gonna work. But I set up my time-lapse camera and waited to see what would happen. After not too long, this termite was the first to enter the maze, but somehow he decided to crawl into the walls of the maze, and he sort of started to break through to the other side of the wall. Now, thankfully, this was a dead end, so when the rest of the colony decided to follow this cheating termite, they didn't finish too easily. Over the next few hours, you can really see how the termites learned to follow each other because so many of them ended up at this little tunnel at the top left area, but it was only a matter of time until more of the colony started to go down into the maze, and over the next day, they started to travel closer and closer to the wood end goal. I mean, they still kind of were cheating, but eventually one termite did actually make it to the wood. And yeah, I guess just like that, they had completed the maze. Good job, termites.
Well, by a predator, I mean I've got this tiny little earthworm that, to be honest, who knows? When it digs under with the termites, what's gonna happen? I mean, they could swarm it, they could just completely evacuate the place, I don't know.
So the only way to find out was to put this little worm inside. Now, almost instantly, it squeezed under the glass floor and started to dig in the dirt as it got closer to the termites. Now, I'm pretty sure termites only eat stuff like wood, so honestly, I didn't even think much would happen, but as the worm got nearer, some of the termites started to approach approached the worm with the little tunnels they had dug out and didn't initially attack it. In fact, they sort of just ignored that it was even there, just walking from one side of it to the other, acting like it was just some sort of bridge. But then all of a sudden, I noticed tons more of the termites starting to gather around the backside of the worm, almost like they were gonna start attacking it. Even some of these bigger termites marched in called soldiers that specifically have these massive mandibles meant to defend the termite nest. But as I kept watching, surprisingly the swarm didn't attack and, well, they kind of just let the worm dig around their nest.
Dang, this is so interesting. How the termites are just fine living with a literal worm in their nest. Yeah, they're just not attacking it at all.
Even more interestingly, as I left my time-lapse camera recording, the worm really just learned to coexist with the 1,000 termites. Yeah, I mean, this honestly makes sense. This species of termites literally only eats wood, so there's no reason for them to waste your energy attacking a harmless worm.
Dang, that's cool. Well, I'm guessing you guys are hungry.
I don't only have this nice natural piece of bark from a tree, I also have this piece of cardboard. So that way I can test both of these materials to see which is the best food source to feed these guys in the future. And after sliding both of the food sources under the sheet of acrylic, the termites had access to them. And honestly, it didn't take long till some of the termites started to investigate it. Since putting the termites in this nest, they've had like a day with no wood, so I knew for sure they would be hungry. Now, interestingly, there was almost like no termites going up to the actual piece of wood, but there was quite a few checking out the piece of cardboard, even walking inside the tiny holes on the side of it. You see, termites like this species actually have more than 100,000 microscopic little alive creatures inside their bodies. They're called flagellates, and basically they live inside termite bodies, and as the termite chews wood, these flagellates help to digest the wood and break it up into actual nutrients somehow. But yeah, it's just insane knowing each termite body is basically just a massive house to so many of these unseeable creatures. Now, even though some of the termites were walking inside the cardboard, it didn't actually seem like they were eating either of these food sources yet. Well, that was until this, because I kept my time-lapse camera recording, totally just expecting the termites not to move towards the wood. You can see most of the termites were actually staying near the bottom, away from the wood. But as I kept recording for another half an hour, eventually a couple termites started to walk on top of the piece of bark. And they looked pretty excited, because soon after, a few more termites started to walk onto it. I guess they didn't realize this was food earlier, but since they had now found out, these initial termites that had walked on here started to release a type of special pheromone in the air that signals there was food here. And because the whole colony could sense the pheromones, it literally only took about 5 more minutes until this piece of wood started to get absolutely swarmed. Yeah, it happened so fast, and soon enough, the entire piece of bark was covered from top to bottom in termites. But interestingly, it seemed like this piece of cardboard wasn't getting nearly as much attention from the termites anymore.
Yo, check out this wood. It's getting absolutely swarmed right now. And it may look like the cardboard's not getting eaten, but if you actually look very closely in there, oh yeah, this thing's getting eaten up too.
Yup, that's right, because when I pointed my camera directly to the side of this cardboard, you could tell it was overflowing with termites. It looked like they were just crawling all up inside of it, and when I got some tweezers to peel back the piece of cardboard, well, you could see just how many there actually was inside, which kind of all immediately evacuated once they realized I was peeling this apart, so sorry guys.
Oh my gosh, it's only been an hour and these termites are decimating the wood. Imagine what they're gonna do to the mini wood house when I leave it in there for a week.
And after shaking off all the termites I could, you could see this piece of wood looked quite a bit different, and it looked like it may have even been hollowed out.
Because termites seriously build some of the craziest homes in the animal kingdom. And they build them quickly. Let me show you by dumping these guys in.
Now, instantly after dumping in the termites, you can see just how many there actually was here, just absolutely swarming in this single area. But you could quickly see how multiple started to gather up in this back area near the exposed dirt. You see, I've set up this container to have a thin layer of soil pressed up against this glass floor. And this gap here lets termites squeeze underneath to start digging, meaning we're gonna get to see them dig their intricate tunnels from above. It's a slow process that only works because of the sheer amount of termites, because while a single termite is super small, there are over 1,000 termites right here, meaning work gets done pretty quickly. And over the next 3 hours, the bulk of the termites migrated across the entire floor in this super cool pattern. Dang, that is insane to watch on a time lapse.
Oh my gosh, these termites completely dug this entire area out so much faster than how long it usually takes for my ants to do it.
This is 50 Venus flytrap plants, and in this video, I'm gonna put 1,000 flies in the same container as them. Will the sheer number of flies trick the traps, causing them to close, or are the flies just simply cooked?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why I bought this.
This is 1,000 fly larvae. Yeah, might look extremely nasty, but over the next week, week, as long as I feed them food, they should all turn into flies so I can do this test.
So while we wait for these guys to turn into flies, obviously I have all of these Venus flytraps. But I also have tons of other carnivorous plants that you may have never even seen before. Now, I know it may sound stupid, but I promise you how they work and catch insects is actually really insane. Let me show you how they work.
And yeah, it's not a joke how small these things are, because when compared to normal Venus flytraps, the jaws are about 10 times smaller. And in fact, they're kind of cute, to be honest.
But since these are minuscule, the normal prey I feed in my videos is not gonna cut it. Yeah, sorry cricket, you get to live another day. That's why instead, I got literally the smallest thing available.
These are flightless fruit flies, which if you've seen my channel before, because seriously bro, how are you a fly that doesn't have the ability to fly? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I put the smallest Venus flytraps in the testing enclosure, then I put one of these flies inside to see if he'd get caught. Start the timer. Now this fly didn't waste any time, because it immediately walked straight up to one of the Venus flytrap pots, and then started to walk all over the tops of the jaws, absolutely risking his life. You may already know this, but normal Venus flytraps work by having these super tiny trigger hairs inside of them that when a bug or something touches them, it snaps shut. But these traps are obviously the smallest in the world. Because of that, they have extremely small trigger hairs. And I'm talking so small that if I zoom in like 100x on this footage, they're so thin, my camera can't even pick them up. And I guess the trigger hairs were quite literally so thin that every time this flightless fruit fly walked inside the jaw of a trap, the jaw didn't close at all, and the fly was able to just walk out. I mean, it kind of makes sense. These flightless fruit flies weigh about 0.0003 grams. So yeah, I guess the traps quite literally can't even be triggered by how light their weight is.
Yeah, clearly the fruit flies aren't gonna work. So instead, I got the world's smallest cricket instead to test. Let's see if this works any better.
And oh boy, let me just tell you, things were a lot more interesting this time around. Because once again, the cricket walked straight up to one of the trap pots and started climbing all over the tops once again. But this time, quite literally within 30 seconds, the cricket happened to put his face up to the lip of one of the Venus flytraps. You may also already know this, but these plants produce a special kind of nectar around the lips of their jaws to lure insects in like this cricket. And you can see it was working pretty well, because this cricket was just absolutely slurping this nectar up. But he was getting a bit too distracted, because he then stepped into the trap, probably stepping on the micro trigger hairs, which then caused the jaws of it to close. But the cricket was too fast, and he was barely able to make it out with his life. Dang, that was a close call, but you can see how quickly that can all happen. And yeah, don't worry guys, because there's only a few minutes later when the cricket did the same exact thing. He walked up to another jaw, walked straight into it, and yeah, this time the trap closed on him while he was starting to walk out, leaving half of his body now sticking out of the trap. Even though these are the smallest Venus flytraps in the world, they trap insects nearly just as well as the fully grown ones.
This plant can also eat insects. And actually how it does it is probably the most brutal out of all of them. Let me show you.
Yep, like I said, these are called pitcher plants. And similar to the last plant, they have pretty long stems that go up. But the difference is this time at the top, there's this little trapdoor leaf thing that if you look is actually covering a hole that leads directly down to a pit of acid at the bottom of the stem. Yep, these traps have this little hole here that's lined with a super slippery nectar on the inside. So whenever an insect walks inside, they'll slip into the acid at the bottom, and yeah.
And what's really cool is if you actually look inside of this pitcher plant, since it's kind of small and shallow, you can actually see the pool of acid at the bottom. And it actually looks like there's a couple little flies and stuff in there, which it looks like it's actually already dissolving. So yeah, it'd be cool to see some crickets or something following these. Let's test it out.
I didn't even need to use an enclosure this time because I knew this was going to be an extremely fast test. Because immediately after placing the cricket on this first pitcher plant, it started to climb along the sides of the red pitcher. As you can see, the inside of the plant is lined with these downward pointing hairs. This is to make it even more slippery and hard to escape. And yeah, it's kind of funny to see how fast this all happens, but the next time the cricket went to the opening of this plant, it straight up just slipped in right away. Nah, this dude had no clue this plant has evolved over millions of years to just be able to eat them this fast. Yeah, and as you can see on this footage that I recorded on my phone, he was now just sitting at the bottom of this pool of acid. Over the next few days, it'll dissolve him and turn him into nutrients for this plant to grow even stronger and larger. Nice.
And yeah, that's really all there is to these pitcher plants. They're not really the most interesting thing ever. Not everyone knows what a sundew is, but they're actually pretty cool. Let me show you what they do.
So obviously, like fly traps, sundews are also a carnivorous plant, except instead of having jaws, it has these long stems with these little red hairs on the top of them. But on each of these little red hairs is a special kind of sticky glue it produces that will make it so when a fly or any other insect touches it, it gets permanently stuck because of how sticky it is.
And when an insect gets stuck on here, the trap does something insane to be able to consume the insect, which I'll show you very soon when it obviously traps an insect.
So yeah, I got multiple of these sundew plants, and I even got this slightly different kind of sundew called an octopus plant. That will be cool to see if this can catch any insects as well. So let's get these in the testing chamber.
And for this, I think I'll be using a cricket once again, because they're literally perfect. They can just climb up the side of the stems and yeah, just get stuck. This should be fun to watch. Let's put this dude inside.
So yeah, once again, I just started with one of these guys, but if this guy gets caught fast, I'll be adding way more inside of here. Anyways, this cricket for the first minute kind of just wandered around the walls of the enclosure, but it wasn't long until he started heading towards the sundews. Now you see, the sticky glue that this plant produces is actually a type of nectar, which smells and tastes great to the insects. So yeah, just like how Venus flytraps lure insects in with their nectar, these traps do the same thing, because this cricket then decided to start climbing up the stem. The only thing is though that he ended up stopping right before the sticky part, and that's actually because of his antenna. You see, crickets have these pretty long antennas that help them navigate and detect danger before running into it, and this guy's antenna actually ended up getting stuck in the sticky nectar part. But using its mouth, it was able to pull the antenna back and then started to lick all the nectar off of it. Yeah, and I'm not kidding, this cricket really just sat here for like 30 minutes, constantly licking his antenna, then putting it back into the sticky nectar, and then licking it back up. He was kind of outsmarting this carnivorous plant and just getting its nectar for free. So I'm not gonna lie, I just tried to push him towards it with my tweezers since he clearly wasn't gonna do it on his own, and yeah, he just kind of ended up falling off.
Yo, what the heck? I was just trying to record that cricket and I just realized there's a jumping spider in here. Do you see that? It's on the little octopus plant. Is it stuck?
Yeah, this jumping spider just happened to wander into this enclosure by accident. I guess he was just living somewhere in my house. But since he was here, I figured I'd just watch him to see if he would get caught by the traps. And pretty quickly, he started to climb the stems of the trap and got up to the sticky part. But yeah, he was kind of too smart for this trap too and turned around the second he realized it was sticky. But it was pretty cool to watch this guy just jump around the plants. However, he never really ended up getting trapped and he ended up just climbing out of the enclosure.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This cricket, I've been trying to record him getting eaten for like 2 hours now. And every time right before going on the sticky part, he just stops and cleans his antenna. And yeah, he just turns around and never actually goes on the sticky part. He's too smart for this. So yeah, let me take this guy out.
Instead, I actually just got out the flightless fruit flies again, because apparently this is actually Sundew's favorite insect. And yeah, I just dumped a few on the sand, and it wasn't long until some of them started to climb all over the stems and eventually started getting stuck all over the different sticky parts. I even went and just dumped a crazy amount of these flies all over the top of the sundew plants to show you guys exactly how cool sundews really are. Because obviously, now you can see the sticky parts of the plants are just completely covered in flightless fruit flies. Now, if you're wondering how this plant actually eats the flies, well, this footage shows how. As you can see, it uses each of its red hairs to basically curl around the prey. And once all of those curl around it, the stem itself also starts to curl around the prey. This will basically ensure the fly has a 0% chance of escaping, while the plant releases basically an acid to consume it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to see these things work. All these flies are just gonna turn into food for these plants very soon.
I'll test as many flies as I can against all of my Venus flytraps to see who wins. Let's start very simple though, with 5 Venus flytraps versus a single fly. And let's see if this fly can get trapped in under a minute. Now I know you may be thinking, bruh, TerraGreen, I don't care about one fly, this is boring. Well, don't worry, because this literally only lasted like 20 seconds. Because immediately this fly started to crawl up the side of a pot, and of course he made his way immediately into a jaw, triggered one of the hairs, and it closed directly onto him. Yup, flies are basically the one thing Venus flytraps are the best at catching. I mean, they're called Venus flytraps for a reason.
Anyways, I got the tank.
And I didn't waste any time. I just got out the flies that I've been hatching, and I put them straight into this enclosure so we could get this final test started. Quickly, I removed the lid and started the timer. Let the test begin. Now, immediately, a couple of the flies started to fly out of the container, and others started to walk out of the sides. Now, there was something weird though, because while the container had a decent amount of movement in it, only like 10 of the flies were actually leaving the container over the 4-hour time lapse here. Yeah, basically all the flies were staying in there. So I decided to just take the paper towel out that they were all on and tried to just shake off as many as I could onto the Venus flytraps. And obviously, this meant that a few of the flies were now scattered all over the traps and were actually starting to get trapped. But most of them were just being super inactive, barely moving, and not flying. I guess because they were just newly hatched flies, and it takes a while for them to become normal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys. This is kind of a fail. Basically, none of the flies are flying around, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this.
But don't worry, because my YouTube friend Flytrap Films recorded a test with an insane amount of flies, super similar to this. And he wanted me to show you it. In it, you can see he has a Venus flytrap plant out, and also a bunch of rotten meat in order to attract the flies. Yeah, and it worked really well, because instantly tons of flies started to gather around this plant. And you guessed it, started to get trapped. I mean, when you have this many flies, it's a given that tons are just gonna get trapped right away. And what's so crazy is that sometimes so many would gather on some of the jaws before they close, causing up to 6 flies to get trapped in the same jaw at the same time. What? Flytrap Films himself said that this is the most flies he's ever seen get caught at once. Also, some bonus footage for you guys. Hey, you remember those pitcher plants from earlier? Flytrap Films also did the same test with a massive pitcher plant to show you guys how effective these things are at catching flying insects. And this plant literally just looks like a vacuum cleaner sucking up all the flies. Which in a way, it kinda is, because every time a flying insect flaps its wings above the opening in this plant, it creates a weird kind of vacuum effect with the wind, causing the bug to actually get pulled down into it. And yup, after not too much time, this thing just caught so many flies. And it was literally just starting to overflow. That is probably the craziest performance from a carnivorous plant that I have ever seen. There is a 1 in 73 million% chance that a snake is born with 2 heads. But by some miracle, some of these snakes are able to survive and are able to learn to live with 2 different minds. Now, normally it would be impossible to get one of these, but I just found this guy who has a pet 2-headed snake.
Hey TerraGreen, I'm Max, and this is Mario and Luigi, one of the rarest 2-headed snakes in the world. They're growing a little fast, and I need you to build them a new enclosure.
Well, Max, I can definitely do that. So in this video, I'm going to create a dream home paradise and put the 2-headed snake inside. Now, there's not much documented research around 2-headed snakes, so this video will be a first for YouTube, showing off everything about them. Now, because this is for one of the largest 2-headed snakes in the world, I got out a massive enclosure. And to start the build, we need to create the rainforest background. To do this, I covered the whole back glass with some spray foam, which would allow me to stick tons of large pieces of wood to it. You see, I'm trying to make a lush rainforest in here, since that's where the 2-headed snake species lives in the wild. To finish the look, I covered it in dirt and other rainforesty materials.
Alright, this actually looks cool how it wraps around the entire enclosure. But anyways, now using moss bricks, I'm going to fill in the floor of this enclosure. But also I'm going to use these slabs of moss and also some wood chip stuff. Yeah.
Now, with this concoction of stuff, I'm gonna add in a big tub of water, which will get entirely absorbed by these bricks. And yeah, you've probably already seen this before, but after mixing it, boom, we now had the whole floor in there completed.
Anyways, this is where it gets fun, because you see, 2-headed snakes are so unique. So in this enclosure, I need to make special accommodations to, accommodate how crazy they are. With the first thing being these things.
These are 2 rock water bowls, which I put inside of the enclosure. I just figured that the 2 heads are gonna want their own fresh water bowl, so they don't have to share. So yeah, pretty good. Anyways, I do just have to put some normal decorations around the water bowls to make this place look more like a rainforest. And I thought it'd be cool to spread a bunch of this leaf litter along the floor to make it look like all those leaves fell from the trees above.
Now, using this, I just figured out a new trick to make climbing vines.
You see, first you get a bunch of this rope, not too thick, but also not too thin. Then you load up some silicone into a gun and get to spraying it all over the rope. After spreading it all around, you can add in a bunch of dirt and other vine stuff, and after mixing it, you will get a DIY vine.
And because the silicone on this hardens up a pretty good amount, it's gonna let me bend it around all the branches. That way we can get this hooked up everywhere along the top section.
So that's exactly what I did, putting it around every corner so Mario and Luigi would be able to climb to their heart's content. Now, to finish off the decorations, I put in a snake hide because pretty much every snake species needs that. But because we're of course putting a 2-head snake in here, I used some foam to put a little divider here because I want to see if Mario and Luigi pop out both their heads. That way they can scan for prey separately.
Alright, the floor looks all good now, but now I want to scatter some plants up in the tree area to finalize that rainforest look. So you already know, let's go drive to the plant store, baby. Oh my gosh, I just drove to a Home Depot I've never been to before. And look at this. This is the craziest plant section I've ever seen. Okay, I'm gonna pick out some of these colorful ones. Let me get some of these green ones. And oh man, this is just amazing.
So I went around and picked out the coolest ones I could find and then checked them out. When I got home, I of course got them out and scattered them all around the upper and lower parts of the enclosure. And then using my hot glue gun, I attached tons of draping vines and even got out some moss like I do in all my enclosures to glue around everywhere as well.
Okay, this place is super green and luscious now. It looks really good. But to finish it off, we gotta put some technology into this enclosure.
First of all, this thing, which is a rainforest spray system. So we can make this really into a rainforest. It was pretty easy to set up. I just attached the sprayers in the corner and used some glue to cover the water tubing. And now when you go down here and click the button I attached to the side of the enclosure, boom, shakalaka, it's now raining. Pretty cool. Okay, the next technology is just a simple LED light strip, which I attached to the top of the enclosure and plugged in.
It isn't anything too crazy, but I just think the pink at the top contrasts pretty well with all the green around the enclosure. So yeah, I like it. That looks good.
Well, now that I'm done with this rainforest enclosure, I can now be one of the first YouTubers to show off such an insane, never seen before creature. Well, Max lives in another city, so the next day he drove a couple hours to come pick me and the enclosure up so we could of course put the snake inside.
Yo, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Max, the man, the myth, the legend. You are the person that probably owns the top 5 like rarest snakes in the world, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, the two-headed snake. Well, anyways, let's not waste any time. Just check out this enclosure I built for them.
All right, already this exceeds my expectation completely.
Yeah, really? You like it?
Yeah, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, I tried to make it look like just like a crazy rainforest. You know, all the plants green everywhere.
Oh my god.
All right, but I did forget one thing actually. Right under this towel, come take a look at this.
Okay.
Mario and Luigi little figures.
All right, I like that.
Where should we put them? Just right there?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You want them together or you want them separate?
I guess the snakes are together, right?
That's true, yeah.
All right.
All right, I can't. This looks so cool. Let's get it back to my place.
Yeah, let's go put those two-head snakes in.
Yeah, let's put Mario and Luigi in.
So we got the enclosure in his car and drove a few hours back to his house. After bringing it inside, I set up the camera stuff and got the enclosure ready while Max went to pick up Mario and Luigi.
All right, come over here. I want to show you something.
Oh, you want to show me something? Is Mario and Luigi in here?
Yeah, but before I show you them, I want you to realize how rare they are and how special they are, like that they're still alive. All right, yes they are.
Okay.
So we got the two-headed snake's current enclosure out, and immediately we opened up the lid to reveal the beauty inside. Mario and Luigi right there in front of my eyes, just chilling around.
This is something that shouldn't exist in this species. 2 heads in 1 body.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This thing is like majestical.
If you think that's crazy, wait till we feed them. Watching them eat live is crazy.
And yes, eating with 2 heads means sometimes they will both separately try to eat the same food. And it's one of the most interesting things in all of nature. But as you can see, Max has been keeping them in this enclosure. And while it may look basic, it's actually not bad. 2-head snakes are super delicate creatures, and it's best not to have anything too complex in the place where they sleep. He pulled out the container that actually had the mom that gave birth to the 2-headed snake, and he told me normally for a 2-headed snake to be born, a snake's egg has the chance for twins to be inside, but then there's a super rare chance that there's a birth defect that causes the twins to only partially split, causing it to have 2 different snake heads in 1 body.
The reason why Mario and Luigi are way crazier is because they're boas and they give live birth.
So that's a boa and that gives live birth?
Yes. Meaning all the stuff that we just explained happens in the mother's stomach.
So yeah, one day this mom just gave birth to a 2-headed snake. And as you can see in these pictures, it's a little disgusting when they're born, a bunch of slime and stuff everywhere. But despite all odds, Mario and Luigi were born that day and were perfectly functioning as a normal snake.
I want to show you how Mario's personality is different.
Yeah.
Just having my finger in front of him.
Oh yeah, Mario's definitely getting a lot more like agitated. The one on the left, Luigi, like he's just chilling.
Mario's smelling my finger and Mario doesn't want to smell. He just means business.
That is crazy. But you're just like fine getting your finger like that. I would not do that. You're just crazy.
Now finally, before feeding them, Max insisted on me holding the 2-headed snake to get that experience.
I mean, I don't really know how to do this though.
Pick them up from their end.
Okay, so we just want to start. Oh, they're kind of getting mad at me. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh. Okay, so we just pick them up and then
slide your hand underneath.
They're not gonna bite me. Ooh. Okay, so I'm picking up a 2-head snake. How many people can say they've done this, huh?
Not a lot.
Yeah, this is crazy.
As you saw, I was very scared at first, but eventually they really mellowed out and they started to crawl all over me. And yeah, they even did some crazy acrobats. That's pretty impressive, actually. But now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for, watching the 2 heads eat. So to do that, we got out a tiny little mouse.
All right, it's time to feed it the mouse, and this is just freshly killed, right? This is from your little mouse farm. Okay, let's see what they do. Oh, he just immediately went and grabbed it. This is so cool. So while Luigi's eating, Mario's just sitting there. And do you think Mario, does he usually eat less than Luigi?
Definitely. Mario eats probably once a month, while Luigi eats every week.
So for about 10 minutes, Luigi tried to get a good hold of the mouse and swallow it. But it was so interesting because Mario kept going about his day, just slithering around, while Luigi was still trying to swallow the mouse.
That is so crazy how Mario's just like kind of doing his own thing. Luigi's trying to swallow. Like, why is this happening?
It's two snakes in one body, so Mario's trying to move while Luigi's trying to eat.
But eventually, Luigi started to get the hang of it and got the whole thing into his mouth and down his stomach. And if you thought that wasn't cool enough, a couple days later, we got this insane footage of both the snakes eating. First of all, we put some mice in front of both of them, and like always, Luigi grabbed his, but Mario missed. But as Luigi started to swallow, Mario got bored and started to just grab onto the mouse as well. It was crazy watching Mario just latch on while Luigi stuffed it down his mouth. They even started to sort of fight with each other and drag it around the entire enclosure. So to make sure nothing bad happened, we tried to feed Mario again, and thankfully this time he took the little mouse and everything was good.
Well, okay, you're just gonna go straight and pick it up. Okay, you're not even scared of getting bit at all?
I mean, it could happen, but once you pick them up, they calm down. They realize that you mean no harm.
Oh, that's cool. Oh man, they're chill. They're just sitting there.
So Max put them in, and apparently Mario and Luigi have never seen an enclosure as natural as this, so right away they got to exploring.
This is so interesting. So do these two heads, do they both control the body?
Yeah, they have to, they kind of struggle.
So which one's on the left? So that's
Luigi.
That's Luigi. So Luigi's trying to go left, and Mario on the right, he's trying to go right. So it's like, they're kind of like stumped.
Now this is actually a pretty common problem for two-headed snakes, but since Mario and Luigi are over a year old, they know how to handle this and continue moving on together. Now Max wanted to prove Mario and Luigi were good at climbing, so he picked them up and put them in the tree area.
But usually, is this boa like species good at climbing?
Yeah, they're pretty arboreal.
Okay.
And immediately Mario and Luigi started to work together to climb around. And Max was right, they were pretty good and got around with no problems whatsoever.
Another interesting thing about Mario and Luigi is they each have their own personality.
Luigi's on the left, so Luigi is what's his personality
He's
like?
definitely more go with the floor, more your typical boa. He's more relaxed.
Okay.
And then Mario over here is kind of feistier.
I already know Mario and Luigi are going to love this new rainforest. Old fish tank has a live fish and frogs.
And just look at this monstrosity. Yeah, this is not even a fish tank. The water is straight up black, and somehow it says there's fish and frogs alive in that. How is that even possible? I need to save those guys.
So in this video, I'm gonna buy that tank, completely revamp it into the best fish tank ever, and save the fish and frogs that are somehow still alive inside of it. So first, I had to, of course, drive out to the cellar and fork up the $20 needed to buy it. You see, normally a fish tank for $20 would be a good deal, but this thing has a whole list of problems. But anyways, it's mine now, so we're just gonna go take it home and, you know, run some diagnostics. We're just gonna see if these fish are gonna be able to survive. Let's go. As soon as I got home, I got out some water testing strips. And after swishing them around, I figured out that there was a bunch of problems with the current water. I needed to get the fish and frogs out of there as soon as possible. So I quickly got a temporary tank, built it up, and added some healthy quick start bacteria to make it safe for the fish. And of course, I can't scoop the fish out of this straight up sewage water. Yeah, I can't even see through it. So I quickly set up a filter, and after a few hours, I was able to see through the water.
All right, it's 100% clear now, and if there's fish in here, I'm gonna scoop it out with this net. Oh, did you just see that right there? It's a good thing these are still alive. Let me get you out.
Thankfully, the frogs were still okay, so I scooped them out. And eventually, I even found the fish all still in good health. I identified the frog species as African dwarf frogs, which are able to survive fully underwater. And the fish was the species of black coolie loach, which is this weird snake-looking thing. But of course now, it's time to focus on transforming this. I honestly can't get over how bad this is, like genuinely, who built this? And to start the process, this thing needed to be cleaned. So I drained out the sewage water and got rid of it. And of course, I took everything else out because, yeah, we don't really want any of this nasty stuff. If I'm being honest, this is already 100 times better than that garbage we started with. But we're about to make this 1,000 times better. So let's give those creatures a new home. Anyway, step one was to buy a lot of money's worth of new supplies.
Oh my god, $400. This is gonna be an insane build.
And get them delivered to my house. But for step two, we gotta actually get to building and, There we go. And to start the build, I'm gonna recreate that plastic arch thing that was originally in the tank, and I'm gonna base the entire theme of the new tank around that. Just obviously, I'm gonna be using real rocks, not plastic trash pet store rocks that are dirty. Yeah, this is so bad. Get this out of here. Anyways, the build was pretty simple. You just place rocks in and then glue them together, and then repeat that like a billion times. And after literally 4 hours, the cave arch structure was done. And I know, it might look like trash right now with all that exposed foam and stuff, but trust me, it's gonna look good soon. And speaking of looking good, let's get to the next part where we add in the floor and decorations. First, I'll do the floor, which I'm mostly gonna be making out of this aqua soil stuff. But I also kept some of the original soil from the trash tank because while it was dirty, it was actually some pretty good soil. But of course, it needed to be cleaned so I wasn't getting deadly bacteria and viruses in my new tank. So to kill all that stuff, I decided to boil it in some boiling water. Yeah. Alright, it's been boiling for a little bit and it's probably killed all the bacteria and stuff. But I was thinking this kind of looks like soup, so I'm just gonna go and see if my mom will try and drink it or something. I don't know, let's see. I made some soup. Do you want to try it?
What kind of soup is it? It's dirt.
No, it's mushroom.
Okay. Is it really mushroom?
Yeah. No, like actually it is. You can just...
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's raw.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Is mushroom. Okay, I guess it doesn't really look like soup. She didn't fall for it. Anyways, I added it in and then poured a layer of gravel on top. The floor was now finished, and next up was the decorations, which basically meant I was just gonna add some plants and stuff. Yeah. For the plants, I got a delivery that cost $100 from some aquarium website, and I got straight to planting them. First, I covered the whole top of the cave in this moss stuff to make it look like grass was growing on top. Then for the rest of the plants, I just, put them around the aquarium, as you do. Finally, I scattered some rocks and wood around. I just, forgot to record that part, so, just imagine this is footage of me doing that. Okay, the whole base of the tank is now complete, but this is honestly kinda average. Rocks, plants, every aquarium has that. And I'm transforming this into the best aquarium to give justice to the poor frogs and fish, meaning I still have a lot of work to do. Next up on the list is to add custom technology in here that'll make the tank actually cool. And the first technology I got is this little water pump. And to show you what it does, let me fill the tank up with water, plug it in, and yeah, boy, it makes bubbles. Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but it is important to have this so oxygen can spread around the tank.
Nice.
Anyways, this next technology is actually cool. I was just wandering around Walmart yesterday and saw this little robo fish that apparently can swim around in the water by itself. That is too cool to pass up on, so of course I bought half of their stock. And on the packaging it says it even changes colors in the water. That's sick. But I don't really know how this works, so I guess I'll just press this button and, oh, the fins are moving. Okay, let me put this in the water. Wait, bro, look at this thing. This is actually pretty cool. Wait, I gotta get these other ones in here. Let's see. Okay, all the fish are in here, and this just looks like an aquarium now. I'm not even gonna lie. Bro, the actual fish are gonna be so confused when they see these ones in here. That is gonna be so funny. Anyways, for now, I'm gonna take them out, and later I'll be adding them back in with the live fish to see how the live fish react. This is an automatic fish feeder. Basically, I just gotta set it up on the side, fill it up with all types of tasty food, and now I just press this button on the side, and it'll drop food. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Or I can set it to be automatic every 12 or 24 hours. But there's no fish in here, so let me just take this food out so it doesn't get moldy and stuff. Okay, now the final technology, and this, to be honest, isn't anything special. It's just a water filter and a water heater, which is just some basic necessities to make sure our fish and frogs are able to thrive. And speaking of those guys, it's almost time to see how they're gonna react to the new transformed tank. But before then, I'm gonna first add in some friends for them. And I've got a lot of stuff. The first species I added in was a bunch of ghost shrimp, which, are shrimp. They clean up the tank and stuff. Thanks, guys. But actually, this is a pretty cool species because as you can see, they're kind of see-through. And because of that, you can literally see stuff inside of their body. Like this guy just ate some moss. And because of that, you can see some green inside of his body. Wow. The next species I added in was 2 new African dwarf frogs and 5 more coolie loaches. And yes, these are the same species of fish and frogs that were in the original tank. And that's because those species that we already have are all social animals, and it wasn't ideal to only have the 2 frogs and 1 fish that we started with. The final species I added in was some neon tetras, just because, well, they look cool and they swim around schools and they look cool. Yeah. Well, all the friends are added now, so of course it's time to add the original frogs and fish inside. Be free. Okay, well, that's kind of anticlimactic. Well, they're in here now, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna live an amazing life, so that's good. But now that it's transformed, this is the best part of the video, where I'll be doing stuff like seeing how the fish react to the robot fish, and also I'll even be hatching live prey from eggs to feed the frogs and fish some live food. And speaking of that live prey, let's get to hatching that now, because it's gonna take a little while to get those hatched. These are brine shrimp eggs, which to start the hatching process, we're basically gonna get a pot, throw a bunch of ingredients in there like a soup, and put in a heater, a light, and a pump. And yeah, basically these shrimp are gonna hatch in about a day, probably. I don't know if I set this up right, but I guess we'll see. In the meantime, I had to, of course, test out the robot fish in the aquarium, so, be free. Right after adding them, the first fish to encounter them was the little school of neon tetras. At first, they seemed pretty chill about it, just ignoring it and going about their normal life. That was until one of the robot fish started to rush at them at max speed, and they all got extremely scared. One of the frogs was also chilling on top of the cave when another robot fish came swimming in towards them. Yeah, he was not gonna have any of that. But the thing is, most of the fish were inside of the cave, so I wasn't able to see their reaction. So, of course, I put all the robot fish inside of it. And, yeah, they kind of all got stuck, and I couldn't record any of the fish reactions because it was too dark. And since I couldn't even reach the robot fish to get them out, they're just gonna be a permanent addition to the cave. Nice. Anyways, I let a day pass so that I could come back to the brine shrimp eggs being hatched. And while it looked like 99% of the eggs hadn't hatched, if we zoom in a bunch on my bad quality iPhone camera, you can see thousands of little dots swimming around. Those are the brine shrimp. Listen, I didn't say they were gonna be big, okay? So I got my water sucker, sucked them up, and was ready to feed the fish. I first put a little bit of the shrimp right next to a lone neon tetra, and within seconds he started going crazy. It even attracted the attention of some of the other tetras, and soon multiple were sucking up all the tasty shrimp. Next up, I put some of the brine shrimp near a frog, and at first he seemed to not care, but then he started to, of course, devour them too. I guess these brine shrimps taste good. Dang. Finally, I put some of the brine shrimp near a coolie loach, and I was expecting this guy to start eating them too, but he kind of just, yeah, he just swam away into the darkness of a cave. Bruh. Well, even though I found this aquarium as a piece of garbage, I'm happy I was able to completely transform it and give a new home to the poor fish and frogs that were alive in it originally. This is a bloodworm, and it is the creepiest, most disgusting creature ever. It even has 4 venomous fangs in each corner of its mouth that you definitely don't want to get bit by. Now, I'm known for keeping the weirdest pets, so of course I found a website that sells them as a live bait for fishing. Yeah, literally nobody buys these as pets. I think I'm literally going to be the first person in the world, which means I'm going to get to show off the crazy unseen abilities of these guys. So hey, let's just check this thing out. And after a couple of days, a truck dropped off the package at my house so I could finally check them out. Here we go, bloodworms. Even as an animal expert, I am like pretty spooked about these. But anyways, let's just check them out. Underneath all the packing material were the bloodworms. So using some tweezers, I carefully removed one to take a closer look. And yep, this is a bloodworm. You can see that they are absolutely disgusting looking, and their mouth is even able to extend out of their body like an alien. But at the end of this part that expands are their venomous fangs, which they use to latch onto stuff like shrimp in the ocean, which I'll be showing off very soon. Now, one thing though, I actually bought 12 of these bloodworms that I'm gonna have to keep all in the same aquarium. So yeah, this is gonna be a nightmare. Now for the build, I'm gonna put in some aqua soil and a dirt mix. Eventually, we're gonna completely fill it with water because that's how bloodworms live in the wild. But for now, I just put a tiny bit of water in to keep the dirt nice and moisty. But I've already run into the first problem because I don't think I was supposed to add the water straight to the dirt. It kind of made it a weird consistency. And the water is just straight up black. So yeah, I drained the water, scooped out the dirt, and I washed it off in the sink. Then I put the soil back in, covered it in a thin layer of sand, and added the water back. As you can see now, the water stays fantastically clear. Nice. This mound here in the middle will be where I build all the decorations, and I'll even be putting in some red plants, and then finally filling it all up with water. First of all, let's get some pieces of wood in here. And I thought this design of multiple of these burnt looking ones coming from the middle looked pretty nice. I didn't want them sticking out the top though, so I broke off all those extra pieces and planted them in the sand below to give the whole wood structure a more fuller look. Now it's time for the rocks, and you may think these are just called river rocks, but in fact, that is not true. This one on the left is actually called an elderly boulder. And this one on the right is called a black venom boulder. Now those are some cool names. Just wanted to say thank you to whoever named them.
But the best rock I have is this. It's actually not a rock at all. It's actually wood. Yeah, just like what I already got in there.
Yeah, it's called petrified wood. And basically millions of years ago, it was buried under the earth and turned into a rock over time.
But for this wood rock back here, I've actually got a pretty cool plan. As you can see, I've got a little can of sardines, which you basically just open by pulling the... okay, it just broke off. Okay, attempt 2. Basically, you just open it like this, and inside there's some like dead fish that you eat.
Now with the sardines, I actually went and put one of them under this petrified wood. I'm doing this because I want to test to see if the bloodworms have a smell ability and whether they'll be able to find the sardine under it, dig it out, and eat it. Yeah, that should be pretty fun to watch. Anyways, now I want to get some red aquatic plants in here. So I drove to Petco so I could buy some.
All right, I'm at Petco and I'm hoping they got some red plants in stock today.
Oh, bro, there's not a single red plant in stock. I swear they usually got them, but I guess not today, huh?
Instead, I had to drive home and go buy some online. Thankfully, though, there was a ton of websites with some nice reddish plants on them, so I went and added a bunch of them to my cart.
And whew, it's gonna be pretty expensive, but hey, I say it's worth it for these red plants, baby. Check out.
Since I bought the one-day delivery, the next day I got the package with all of the red plants inside, so I took them all out and started to put them around random parts in the sand. Now, a few of the plants they gave me weren't actually red, they were very green, but it's okay because I was starting to like the look of how it was all coming together. I also ended up getting these red ruby crystals that I scattered along the floor of the enclosure to add a bit more red in here to match that bloodworm color, of course. But as you can probably tell, I've been keeping the two sides of this enclosure completely empty. And that's because I want to build some custom DIY builds on both sides that the 12 bloodworms will be able to interact with. First of all, on the right side, I'm going to make a little cave they can all hide in. Now, in an old video, here is the finished triple-decker cave. Looks good, right? Right?
Let's just get this thing in there just like that. It may not be the prettiest decoration in the whole world, but a wise man did once tell me it's not about the looks, it's about the thought that went into it. And yeah, a lot of thought did go into this cave, okay? We can store 3 different worms in there.
All right, now time for the left side's DIY build. Now, of course, I had to start filling it up with water so the bloodworms will be able to swim around in there. But when it got to like 30% full, I kind of realized a big problem.
Oh shoot, bro. I don't know how I didn't think of this, but bloodworms, they live on the beaches of oceans, and the beaches of oceans have salt water. I've been making this a freshwater tank. I've been putting fresh water in it.
But it's okay, because thankfully in the corner of my garage, I just have 2 big cartons of Pacific Ocean water, sourced straight from the ocean. Don't ask why I have this, I just do. Anyways, I drained out a little bit of the fresh water and started to add in the ocean salt water. And by the time it was filled up, the salt level was 0.02, which is perfect for bloodworms.
All right, all the right water parameters have been met in here, so the bloodworms are good to go in. But because I put salt water in here, it does mean the $200 on freshwater plants I spent is gonna go down the drain. Yeah, these are all about to die.
Since they were all gonna die, I wanted to replace the red theme in here, so I got this heatless red lamp. As you can see, it makes the water have this red tint to it, which is cool, because you gotta have the water at least look a little bit like blood when putting bloodworms inside. Now, I also need to get snails inside of here so they can eat any algae that grows.
Now, luckily for me, I actually have this tank just set up with like 30 just snails in here, and they're called rarity snails, and they're able to survive in salt water, so that's why I'm gonna choose these guys.
So I got a few of those and put them inside the bloodworm tank. Once they got used to the water, a few of them came out their shells and started to move about the glass. Now, I think these guys should be safe from bloodworms because of their shells, but I'm not gonna give the 100% guarantee. So sorry guys if you get eaten by the bloodworms. Now for the final touch of this tank. And what I did is I actually went and found this cool picture of a beware of the dog sign, and I went and asked AI to change it to a beware of the worm sign.
Oh my gosh, look at what it generated. That is absolutely perfect. Wait, let me go print this out at the store real quick.
So I printed it, attached it to a piece of cardboard to make it a sign, and there we go, a beware of worm sign. I then even went and spiced up the enclosure a little bit by splattering some red paint along the sides to make it look like blood splatters.
And there we go, 100% complete bloodworm enclosure. And I guess there's only one thing to do. Let's get these bloodworms inside. Now, I'll just be starting with one, and then I'll add all the rest as I test more and more food. But yeah, let's just put this guy inside. Be free, boy.
And the worm kind of just sank down to the bottom and started moving around randomly. And yeah, well, this is kind of all bloodworms do. They just wiggle about, and occasionally they'll burrow under the sand, which is where they spend most of their lives. And as you can see, it didn't take this guy long until he started to do just that. But I guess he got bored of the digging, because eventually he just came out and started to wiggle about again above the sand.
Wait, before this guy tries to burrow under the sand again, let's get to feeding him some food. Now, this stuff is so smelly and so oily, I think he just has to eat it, right?
Now, I actually went and added in 2 more bloodworms to the tank, so there was a higher chance of one of them eating it. Then I did the same thing. I just wiggled the salmon around in front of their mouths until they ate it. But just like the fish pellets, for some reason, these worms were not wanting anything to do with it.
I'm not too sure if they're gonna eat this, but it's worth a shot. Let's put them inside.
But there was a slight problem because, as you can see, the fish food was floating, and I feel like the bloodworm isn't just gonna swim up to it, so instead I picked it up with some tweezers and moved it towards the worm. And as you can see, when I moved it towards him, he actually went and flashed his fangs at me for the first time. I thought this surely meant he was hungry, so I started to wave the food around in front of his mouth a bunch, and yeah, nothing. He didn't eat it.
So hey, fish food, I'm gonna give a 0 out of 10. He didn't even want anything to do with that. But next up, out of all of these,
now I actually think bloodworms need to have their mouth part extended and their fangs showing in order for them to eat food. And right now their mouths are retracted because I think they're stressed. So what I did was I actually went and put all of the 12 bloodworms in the aquarium and just kind of let them do their thing. My thinking was if I left them alone for a few hours in the tank, they'd start to get used to it and then they would eat. After a while, I went and took one of the bloodworms out and put him on land. I waited a little bit for him to shoot his mouth out, and when he did, I grabbed it with tweezers. Now you can really get a good look at the fangs, and what makes these fangs so cool is they're actually made of copper. Yeah, like the metal you find underground, and they're the only animal in the world with copper teeth. I brought it up to the 3rd food source, which is of course beef, and after kind of like shoving his face in it, he instantly bit down with all 4 of his fangs and started to devour this piece of meat and just suck all the juices out.
Wow, it took a long time for me to get a bloodworm to eat a piece of meat, but dang, that is so cool when they do grab on, because look, I'm shaking it, like literally it doesn't want to come off. It's like, I am eating this, do not take it away.
So I went and removed the food from them, which was pretty hard. I had to like kind of shake them off.
Holy, that was actually kind of cool to watch, and it looks like you can see the little bite mark where the worm was biting, and remember, these guys are venomous, so there's literally venom. Thing with the last food source, which is a shrimp.
And once one of the other worms shot out their mouth, I once again grabbed it, and this time put the shrimp in front of it. He also immediately grabbed onto it, and now these 2 bloodworms were having the time of their lives eating up the food. After like an hour...
Well guys, I brought my mom in. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, come on in. Of course, I gotta show you a new pet. Just take a look. This one's gonna be quick. You can see the pets in there, right?
Oh my gosh.
You know what those are?
Ew. They look like some sort of slug leeches. Look at all the little tentacles.
And yeah, actually, there's some right
Go.
So that purple right there, that's the mouth of the worm. And if you look very, very closely, you see those 4 little fangs on it.
Oh my gosh, that's so this is probably the most disgusting thing yet.
I know, that's what I'm thinking, and yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.